Welcome to the Code Breakers. This is Paradox. We're about to get started on a good program today, September 21st, 2024. 45 days left to go. It's getting down to the wire. Lot to touch on. We'll see what we can get through the next hour or two. Hopefully, won't be on too long. We'll see how that play out. But it's a lot of things been going on. We didn't do a stream yesterday, so probably a couple of things we need to catch up on. Um, DC, he might jump on at some point. I don't know, but got a lot going on. We got Kamala. We got, a matter of fact, we got speeches from everybody today. I think we got folks in the Carolina and Pennsylvania, Georgia. So it's a big Saturday. I guess some breaking news. If you haven't been paying attention with the Haitian situation, of course they found some lady, of course, found the cat in the basement, and assuming this is all from that situation. So typical, of course. But I think I'm still gonna play some of Ramaswamy's video that we had started a couple of days ago. The back wasn't a great clip. I think I found a better clip, so I might play some of that too. I'm gonna probably jump around a little bit. Yeah, but we'll see. Let's see what we got first, though. Let me see. Let's go with I think Biden had a meeting today. He had a meeting today with some leaders, Indo-Pacific leaders. So he out there working over in Delaware. I think Kamala gave a pretty good speech today, so I might play some of that. Let's see.
And so I say to you then, from that experience and from the work that I've done, the idea that someone who survives a crime of violence to their body, a violation of their body, would not have right to make a decision about what happens to their body next, that's immoral. That's immoral. And let us agree, and I know we do. One does not have to abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree. The government should not be telling her what to do. If she chooses, if she chooses, she will talk with her pastor, her priest, her rabbi, her imam. But it should not be the government or Donald Trump telling her what to do with her body. He wanted to have an abortion. But because of the Trump abortion ban here in Georgia, she was forced to travel out of state to receive the health care that she needed. But when she returned to Georgia, she needed additional care. So she went to a hospital. But you see, under the Trump abortion ban, her doctors could have faced up to a decade in prison for providing Amber the care she needed. Understand what a law like this means. Doctors have to wait until the patient is at death's door before they take action. You know, on the other side of my, you know, the other folks, Trump and his running mate, and they'll talk about, oh yeah, but I do believe in the exception to save the mother's life. Okay, all right, let's break that down, shall we? Let's break that down. Let's break that down. So we're saying that we're going to create public policy that says that a doctor, a healthcare provider, will only kick in to give the care that somebody needs if they're about to die. Think about what we are saying right now. You're saying that good policy, logical policy, moral policy, humane policy is about saying that a healthcare provider will only start providing that care when you're about to die? And so Amber waited 20 hours. 20 hours. Excruciating hours. Until finally she was in enough physical distress that her doctors thought they would be okay to treat her. But it was too late. She died of sepsis. And her last words to her mother, which her mother, as you know, tears up and cries every time she speaks it. Last words to her mother, promise me you'll take care of my son. So I met last night and I spent time with Amber's mother and her sisters, and they spoke about Amber, a daughter, a sister, a mother, with the deep love that you can imagine and how terribly they miss her. And their pain is heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. Amber's mother, Shanette, told me that the word preventable is over and over again in her head when she learned about how her child died. The word preventable. She can't stop thinking about the word that they spoke to her. It was preventable. Because you see, medical experts have now determined that Amber's death was preventable. And through the pain and the grief of her mother, who courageously told her story, I promised her, as she has asked, that we will make sure Amber is not just remembered as a statistic, that she will not just be remembered as a statistic, so that people will know she was a mother and a daughter and a sister, and that she was loved, and that she should be alive today. And that she should be alive today. And many of us remember, there's so many leaders here, from 2 years ago when the Dobbs decision came down. We knew this could happen. There is a word preventable, and there is another word, predictable. And the reality is, for every story we hear of the suffering under Trump abortion bans, there are so many other stories we're not hearing, but where suffering is happening every day in our country. An untold number of people suffering. Women who are also being made to feel as though they did something wrong. The judgment factor here is outrageous. Being made as though to feel as though they are criminals, as though they are alone. So to those women, to those families, I say on behalf of what I believe we all say, we see you and you are not alone, and we are all here standing with you. Standing with you. You are not alone. You are not alone. So Georgia, we will not be silent. And we will not be silent. But this is a healthcare crisis. This is a healthcare crisis, and Donald Trump is the architect of this crisis. He brags about overturning Roe v. Wade. In his own words, quote, "I did it and I'm proud to have done it," he says. He is proud that women are dying, proud that doctors and nurses could be thrown in prison for administering care, proud that young women today have fewer rights than their mothers and grandmothers. How dare he? How dare he? We saw this week for the second time, Republicans in the United States Senate blocked a bill that would protect access to IVF treatment. Now consider, among the multitude of ironies, we trust women. We trust women. And like Dr. Reddick said, when Congress passes a bill to restore reproductive freedoms, as President of the United States, I will so proudly sign it into law. I will so proudly sign it into law. Proud women. Do we believe in reproductive freedom? Do we believe in the promise of America? And are we ready to fight for it? And when we fight, we win. God bless you, and God bless you.
Absolutely. Thank you. So I guess we'll begin. Thank you. You have the signs? Yes. Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. Today, we're here to talk about the disgusting comments that Donald Trump has been fictitiously spreading throughout the entire country about Haitian migrants who are in Ohio. I just want to stress how these Haitian migrants are here legally. When they came into the United States, they had to be vetted before they came into the U.S. That vetted process means that they had to have a sponsor who could financially support them as they were here in the country. But in addition to that, they were vetted to make sure that they weren't any national security risk and that they had no health concerns. And so we have very hardworking people who entered into the country wanting to give back to the country that allowed them to actually escape their political struggles and to actually be a part of this society and give back to this great country. But unfortunately, there's a storyline that's spreading throughout the entire country. This storyline is very dangerous. And what Donald Trump is doing right now is playing a dangerous game of divide and conquer. This dangerous game of divide and conquer is having several consequences.
Arc'teryx. Worn when it counts. Outerwear for mountain athletes. Shop Arc'teryx.
We're seeing more and more death threats We're seeing more and more Haitian Americans who don't feel safe identifying as Haitian American, and we're even seeing schools being shut down. I recently spoke to many people in Springfield, and they told me that they're afraid to even go to church. They're afraid to go to church, to school, and even to participate in the society, which is a huge problem for Haitian Americans because those are the three things that we believe in: school, education, church, and making sure that we're working. More importantly, it's important that I thank my colleagues who are standing here with us today so we can show that there is a coalition of support, that the America that we work hard to endear and to support and to strengthen every single day is an inclusive America in which we actually appreciate the diversity that we bring to the table. So we stand here as a united front saying that we would not tolerate these comments nor the violence that is coming from it or the potential violence. We're here to stand with the community and make sure that everyone in Ohio knows that we're here to stand with them and to help them with their needs, but to also emphasize that every immigrant in the United States deserves dignity, deserves safety, and deserves respect. As the first Haitian American Democrat elected to Congress, the only Haitian American in Congress, I can tell you sincerely that this is a hard time for us. For so many years, we had other people telling our narrative, other people talking about Haiti and talking about Haitians. This is an opportunity for us to take back our narrative and to let the American people know how much we appreciate what the United States has done for us and how our commitment is only reinvigorated to be here working with everyone. And I would like to tell all the Haitian Americans who are living in fear right now that there should be no fear, no tolerance, and no place for it. We encourage everyone to stand with us and condemn the thoughts, condemn the statements from Donald Trump, to condemn the statements from J.D. Vance. And we also want to make sure that as we're moving forward unified and letting everyone know that these are legal pathways. These legal pathways have to be maintained, and JD Vance can't wake up and say they're illegal just because he feels like it. We have our process and procedures in place, and we're standing unified. Everyone in this country deserves to have leadership that is honest, not who's committed to making up stories for their own benefit. Every person in this country deserves to be treated with dignity and not to have someone creating stories about them being illegals or even worse, the criminality that he's putting forth, which is absolutely false. So today we stand unified. At this moment, I'd like to welcome Congressman Stephen Horsford, the chairman for the Congressional Black Caucus.
Look, we shouldn't even have to be here. It's a sad time when a former president and his running mate choose to pit one group of Americans against others. I am Congressman Stephen Horsford. I represent Nevada's 4th District, and on behalf of the Congressional Black Caucus, we say enough is enough. Day after day, we continue to see a doubling down by those on the right who want to divide people in this country. So we want to express our deepest sympathies to the community of Springfield, Ohio, and any other community who in recent days have felt targeted and who are forced to live in fear because of a lie. We can only hope and pray that the false and racist rhetoric by the former president and his running mate and other extremists do not lead to violence in Springfield or in any other Haitian or immigrant community. As has been stated, we have already seen reports out of Springfield of threats being made against Haitian communities, children being afraid to attend school, parents wondering if their families are safe in their own neighborhoods. This racist scapegoating, pitting one group of Americans against another for political purposes, is dangerous, and it has no place in our national discourse, certainly not from someone seeking the highest office in our land. So we are here to state in no uncertain terms that this rhetoric, the lies, the misinformation needs to come to an end before something terrible happens in one of our communities. While this misinformation has captured the attention of many in recent days, let us remind you of the truth about our immigrant communities and what makes our country great. It is a fact that Haitian Americans contribute immensely to the Springfield community and our entire nation, economically and culturally. And any idea to the contrary is patently wrong. It is a fact that America is stronger because of our diversity. Our diversity of thought and lived experience is something to be treasured, not feared. And it is a fact that we are a nation of immigrants. Around the world of the United States of America, we are a beacon of hope and opportunity for those who are seeking a better life. So we say enough is enough. The racist fear-mongering must stop, and it must stop now. We're calling on every American, and I want to thank my colleagues and those from the community who are here, because we call on every American to reject the politics of division and extremism and embrace a vision of fairness and unity, because we know that there is more that unites us than what divides us. I want to thank my colleague, Congresswoman Sheila Sherfilis McCormick, the Vice Chair of the CBC, Representative Yvette Clarke, Representative Yana Presley, as well as Representative Maxwell Frost and others for their tremendous leadership and tireless advocacy for the people of Haiti, both on the island and the diaspora, and for leading us in today's press conference. Enough is enough. I now pass the mic to the Vice Chair of the CBC, Yvette Clarke.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and greetings and good afternoon, everyone. I am Congresswoman Yvette D. Clarke, and I proudly represent New York's 9th Congressional District, which is Central and Southwest Brooklyn, New York. Thank you to my fellow co-chairs of the Congressional Haiti Caucus, Representative Sheila Sherfilis McCormick, Representative Ayanna Presley, and Representative Maxwell Frost, as well as all of the other leadership that are here today to stand with us. And let me say thank you to all of the advocates who have joined us today. And again, the Democratic leadership who stands firmly with us in this moment. As we are all too acutely aware, for years, our cherished Caribbean ally, the island nation of Haiti, has remained in the grips of a destructive series of political, economic, and gang violence. Now, Haiti has faced crises before, and that's true. However, nothing compares to the generational devastation that we are witnessing today. Fortunately, our current administration, the Biden-Harris administration, has taken meaningful action to ensure this nation.
Yo, those are nice. Hold on one second.
Candace, what's up? I think my daughter's going pro at basketball.
I'll take those.
Wait, you're at Diggs? Could you pick up an agility ladder for my daughter?
Yo, she's 3.
So what do you
Thank
think's
you.
the next step?
Thank you. Yeah.
Should we work on the
Hey,
crossover
Patrick,
first
let
or
me call
behind
you
the
back.
She hung up.
Our nation, the United States of America, fulfills its humanitarian obligations to these families who've already lost so much by extending and redesignating their temporary protected status, along with other meaningful steps to keep our Haitian sisters and brothers safe. However, 45, Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, and the billionaires like Elon Musk disagree with our morality. They believe it's their responsibility to punish Haitian immigrants for daring to seek their own American dream. They have chosen to spew racist and xenophobic lies as a political tool and weaponized rhetoric to place innocent families in harm's way. It's truly sickening to see the United States' most powerful prey on its most vulnerable through xenophobic and despicable disinformation. And to make matters worse, Trump recently announced he plans to visit Springfield, Ohio, to continue spreading these falsehoods, adding insult to injury. Though even acknowledging these heinous anti-immigrant lies is beneath our common decency, we each have a responsibility to reject those seeking to ignite tensions by sharing information they know to be false. And that's why the Haiti Caucus and our allies are proud to stand with our Haitian American neighbors today, and why we are resolved to condemn those who would lie on their names for political purposes. Haitian migrants who escaped national repression do not deserve to be slandered by racist fearmongers while seeking safety in our country. And we also and always will rise up, struggle, and fight for an America that embraces them as neighbors. Our land of liberty must continue to be a land of refuge and opportunity for those who are fleeing persecution, violence, famine, and all manner of humanitarian crisis. So today we stand together here as people of goodwill, people of good conscience, to say, as our chairman has said, enough is enough. Across this nation,
we're used to coming together in this way in defense of dynamic and thriving the Haitian community is. I could speak
off, dismisses and condemns these racist, bigoted attacks on Americans, but also brings up the humanity and beautiful resilience and contributions of the Haitian
specifically to Haitians and yes, to Black people in general. We can't let hate and division be the policy of the United States of America. We're better than that. And let me be clear. All the claims that Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, as you have heard over and over again, have spread, those claims have been proven to be false. False. Vance has even gone so far as to admit he lies. Admitted it. That's what they do. That's the oldest trick in the book. Lie, 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 to sow fear, to sow hate, racism, and division. And hear me when I say this. We all know this, you know this. Hate speech leads to hate violence. Republican lies have resulted in the canceling of public events, in bomb threats.
Serving elections and working with the government to repair the Constitution and the country and everything else after the earthquake. So my love for Haiti has caused me to march so much, to walk so much, that I don't even have soles on my shoes anymore. The leather is worn away. So I want to thank Congressman Sheffield McCormick for bringing us here today, and the members of the caucus, which I suppose I'm an honorary member of the caucus. But how insulting it is. It's insulting that both Trump and J.D. Vance would spew out baseless, hateful claims that Haitians eat cats. Now, that includes my entire community. It's vile and it's despicable. There is no proof of anything he is saying. Trump and J.D. Vance know that. And they continue to parrot lies because they simply do not give a damn about immigrants or about Black people in our country. These are children and families who are now receiving death threats. Because of these threats, this is wrong. This is wrong. And let me say this. If they talk bad about the Haitian community, let's take a moment to talk about Trump and J.D. Vance. You know, when I was a little girl, I'm a school principal too. Little children would do something that they call play the dozens. So let's play the dozens with them since they want to play the dozens with everyone else. Trump is a four-time indicted, twice impeached sexual predator, former disgrace of a president. He is so overweight, when he steps on the scale says one at a time. He is a crybaby man, and they
apps that the country has recently endured. In fact, they bear responsibility for the deteriorating situation in Haiti because they held up $40 million in funding for a multinational security support mission to stop the violence and to restore peace, and they left many partnering countries in the lurch like Kenya. Yet here we are, standing here today to condemn the racist lies that Trump's lapdog, J.D. Vance, is spreading about cats and Haitians. Lies that are being co-signed by Republicans. You know, the reality is that all of these lies have actually been debunked. The governor of Ohio said that they were untrue and that it was garbage. People involved in the incidents have come out and said they were wrong and they were untrue. And yet J.D. Vance has come out and said he doesn't care. And he will continue to spread lies and rumors as long as it makes the news. Well, Democrats are here to tell the truth. Haitians are here. Our immigrant communities are here. They are here legally, and they are making our communities, our neighborhoods, and our economy stronger. In fact, it was the Haitian migrants who brought economic renewal to a depressed Springfield when they filled open jobs, supported local businesses, and even started businesses of their own. Words have consequences, JD and DJT. Since Trump, Vance, and their minions have started propagating this dangerous lie, the city of Springfield has received 30-plus threats of violence. These lies are interrupting real lives. Children are unable to get an education because of the dozens of bomb threats their schools have received. Parents cannot provide for their families because they are afraid to go to work. This is impacting schools, it's impacting neighborhoods, it's impacting jobs, it's impacting employers, it's impacting businesses, and it is impacting the psychology of this country. At a time when Springfield's Culture Fest, the city's annual celebration of unity through diversity, should be bringing people together, it has been canceled because of public safety concerns. Meanwhile, you have the Proud Boys walking through streets, waving swastikas, and continuing to propagate these lies.
The pineal gland has tiny little cilia, hair-like extensions all around it.
The Haitian community deserves better. Immigrant communities deserve better. These are human beings with real stories, real lives, real dreams who came from a country in chaos, mostly because they had enough gumption to stand up to the French. But they came in search of safety, normalcy, and the American dream. And they deserve empathy and they deserve our protection from deportation back to a dangerous situation of death, of harassment, and abuse. And I'm going to leave you with this. If J.D. Vance would cause this kind of harm to a community in his own state, what do you think he is going to do to the rest of the country? Read Project 2025, listen to these lies, and call it out. Call it out, send them back to jail or wherever. But we are so tired of this. And I'm going to leave it with that. Thank you.
Next, we have Congressman Greg Caesar.
Good afternoon. I'm Greg Bessad. I represent the heart of Texas, and these lawmakers know that our country is a multiracial, multicultural, thriving place because of our immigrant communities. And that's what we're here fighting for, and we know the truth. And we know the truth despite the constant lies, because what J.D. Vance and Donald Trump are doing is the oldest trick in the book. They want to take away people's health care. They want tax cuts for their billionaire buddies. They want to slash Social Security, and they want to distract from that agenda. And so they pick on some group of struggling people to make up lies about. But we know it's a lie. We know it's a lie, and we're not going to keep letting the American people hear these lies without the lies being
Ohio that are facing it. The aim of this campaign to denigrate Haitians is very clear to me. It's a campaign to scare Haitians into inaction, because it's a campaign to ensure that Haitian Americans are not showing up at the polls to vote on November 5th, particularly in battleground states where they can make a difference. So let's be very clear about it. Let's be quite clear. I have been quite involved with protecting and defending Haitian immigrants and refugees for most of my life. I have worked across the aisle on both sides. I have worked with different administrations to work things out, so that the United States could be a much fairer country, a much better country, a country that bases itself on the agreements that
who exploit hateful rhetoric for political gain while ignoring the real challenges facing Haitian community, many of whom have no choice but to leave their beloved homeland in search of safety for themselves and their families. I'm sure that my Bible tells me to love your neighbor, but it doesn't say to love some neighbors. If the true Dr. King was here, he would say injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. It would say injustice to Haitian immigrants is a threat to justice to all immigrants in this country. We aim to remind all of them these profound contributions that Haitians have done on the global stage. The first Black republic to win independence and to set aside freedom for all Black race. How we played a pivotal role in the liberation of several Latin American nations, and how Haiti's independence from France enabled the Louisiana Purchase, doubling the size of the United States. It is important to emphasize that Haitian immigrants are making significant contributions to the U.S. economy as entrepreneurs and taxpayers, as well as to academia. Please, let's stand with me. Let's stand with us to continue to fight back again this false allegation, and we shall overcome. And truth theologically will prevail, because God doesn't like liars. May God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll have Ron Daniels, president of the Institute for Black World.
Thank you very much, Congressman. My name is Dr. Ron Daniels. I'm president of the Institute of the Black World 21st Century and founder of the Haiti Support Project. And for years and years and years, we have stood in solidarity with our Haitian brothers and sisters. I only have three things to say because we've been here for a while. Number one is it's just been stated. The United States of America owes a debt to Haiti. It owes a debt to Haiti. We should be thankful to Haiti for all of the contributions that the Haitian people have made to these United States of America. Number two, the vile kind of language and hate mongering that we see is a kind of thing that must be stopped. It must be condemned, and it has been condemned today. But the final note is that in order to really condemn it, in order to flush this kind of vile poison out of the systems of these United States of America, because that's exactly what's at stake. We need to say to our Haitian brothers and sisters, to immigrants everywhere, and people of conscience everywhere, the solution is to march on ballot boxes. March on ballot boxes. Enough is enough. March on ballot boxes. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to have Marie Esme Irving from Neon.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm going to need your help to repeat after me. L'école, l'église, la caille. So what I just said is l'école is school, la caille is home, and l'église is church. Okay? So I am Mary Estime Irvin. I'm the proud chairwoman of the National Haitian American Elected Official Network. I'm also the vice mayor of the great city of North Miami, where one of the largest Haitian diaspora is. One thing that I can tell you about Haitians and Haitian immigrant, when we get into this country, we do what we have to do. We go to l'école, l'église, la caille. And so I just want to stand in solidarity with all of my colleagues. First of all, I'd like to thank Congresswoman Sheila Sherfilis McCormick, a proud member of NEON. I'd like to thank the Black Caucus and all of the elected officials and clergies that are here with us today. I am deeply troubled by the unfounded accusations suggesting that Haitian in Springfield involved in the consumption of pets. These baseless claims were dismissed by individuals who originated them, yet they continue to circulate them, seeking to lead our nation. We must remember that the United States is a tapestry of cultures and background built by immigrants who contributed to its strength and diversity. Many left their homes, not by choice. And you've heard a lot of my colleagues and leaders say that. A lot of people have left Haiti 90 miles away from this country because of the insecurity that's happening. And because, and there's an MSS mission that has not been funded. And so we need the help of Congress. We need the help of the Republican Congress to act so that Haiti we can help Haiti. And so maybe this can stop some of the migrants from coming here. Nobody wants to leave their home. Nobody wants to come to a culture or have to learn a new language unnecessarily. But they are grateful when they are here. And when they are here, they work hard, they go to school, and they successfully participate in the fabric of our country. The recent threats against Haitian in Springfield highlights a disturbing threat towards division rather than unity. And, we're talking about Springfield, Ohio, because this is what is being attacked. But there's a ricochet effect. I got a call today that in my very own city, parents are afraid to send their kids to school. They had to have a town hall meeting with parents and students saying, it's okay, it's safe. Other students are saying, hey, you eat cats. And so the mental health of our students, the mental health of our community is being attacked. I call upon the officials of Ohio. First of all, I want to thank them, but I want to call upon the officials of Ohio to provide support and to protect the Haitians and to stand against hatred. We urge all allies to join us in this fight for justice and solidarity for all communities facing discrimination. Today, we can uphold the values of inclusion and respect to make our country strong. So I ask you today to please stand with Haitian. And remember, when Haitians are here, they go to l'école, l'église, la caille.
At this moment, I would like to call on Renise Lugin from Boston City Council.
This game, you're not ready for it.
You're in the middle of this beautiful sci-fi environment.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Ruthie Louis-Jeanne, president of the Boston City Council, home to the third largest Haitian population and the second largest per capita. It is a joy to be here with my fellow community leaders, with my congressional leaders. I want to give a big shout out to our shero in the 7th Congressional District in Massachusetts, who is Haitian by association, Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley. I want to give a big shout out to Congresswoman Sheila Sherfilis McCormick for her leadership as you carry the baton on behalf of the entire Haitian community in Congress. We see all of you, all of our community leaders. We are here and we are standing in solidarity. We continue to condemn the proliferation of a lie against a people who already have their backs against the wall. We continue to be appalled and disgusted that these lies are spread by someone who used to occupy the highest office in our country and by someone who should know better, a senator, J.D. Vance and Donald Trump, just so that they can have some sort of political gain. We continue to stand steadfast in solidarity with our Haitian community in Springfield, Ohio, and everywhere in the United States, because we know that we do not punch down, we punch up. when people are coming in to attack us, we stand together. But we will
Video. Today is Saturday, September 21st, 2024, and today we are going to be talking about Vice President Kamala Harris and her favorability rating, now rebounding to be in the net positive for the first time in over 3 years. Now, 538 has spent the past 4 years tracking Kamala Harris's favorability rating over time. Ever since she assumed the role of vice president, they've been tabulating all of the responses that voters have been giving around what they view Kamala Harris as in terms of the net positive or the net negative. And while she started off in the administration with positives, it came crashing down around the month of July of 2021, where she became unfavored for the first time in the term of her vice presidency. But since then, the numbers have been increasingly more negative for Kamala Harris. Over time, it just started to expand and expand and expand, and more voters started to dislike the vice president, and to a point where right until about the point that Kamala Harris became the nominee for president of the United States of the Democratic Party, she hit a record low net approval nationwide, with 16% more Americans having an unfavorable view of her than a favorable one, which was just at roughly 1/3 of American voters. Well, now today, in just around 2 months, Kamala Harris has taken, in fact, 2 months ago today, Joe Biden dropped out of the race. She went from a point of being down 16 nationwide to now being up on the overall net, again, for the first time in a tremendously long time. And it's the surge in approval that Kamala Harris needs to really do well in this election. Hillary Clinton in 2016 at this point today was down 14 points nationwide. In 2020, President Biden was in the advantage, something Kamala Harris now has in terms of the upper hand. And Donald Trump still maintains his overall negatives. Today, Donald Trump is disapproved of nationwide, which you can see by a margin of roughly 10 points on the national scale. Kamala Harris, however, is up by 0.1% and likely growing, as we can see as the general trend line here, a massive, massive surge in approval for Kamala Harris after she became the Democratic nominee. And this is something that we actually saw very early on. This was a month ago today, August 21st, 2024, titled Kamala Harris's approval rating jumps in weeks after becoming nominee as Democrats increasingly back her. A lot of Kamala Harris's level of disapproval came primarily from Republicans and independents, but one thing that really wasn't discussed too much about Joe Biden and Kamala Harris when it came down to their favorability rating was that a lot of Democrats did not have favorable things to say about either of them during the duration of the beginning, not the beginning, but mostly the middle of this administration. Joe Biden saw that roughly 70% of Democrats routinely had a positive view of him. In contrast, Donald Trump had roughly 80-90% of Republicans. There were a lot of Democrats out there that did not like Joe Biden necessarily as a person or as a president. Maybe some of them thought that he wasn't left-wing enough or thought that he was too right-wing. Whatever it might be, ultimately, the disapproval for Joe Biden translated to a net disapproval for Kamala Harris. But it wasn't something that seemed to be, too different than that of Joe Biden. But that was the real problem for Kamala Harris. She was slightly underperforming the president, but when there was a lot of conversation around replacing her and making her the Democratic nominee for president, that maybe it didn't make sense because she wasn't approved of more than Joe Biden. But what she has shown us over the past 2 months is that she has taken an opportunity that many of us simply just could not have seen coming until after the first presidential debate between Biden and Trump, is that she has taken her newfound visibility and completely changed the way that Americans have viewed her all in the positive.
To the Wall Street Journal to a missing cat. The Wall Street Journal then went to Anna Kilgore's house on Tuesday, and she said that her cat, Miss Sassy, who went missing in late August, had actually returned a few days later, found safe in her basement, not eaten at all by anyone.
And then this woman did the right thing. She took her daughter and a translation app over to her Haitian neighbor's home and apologized for what she had done, something we will not see from Trump and Vance. But these two guys have wreaked such havoc on this community. They should, of course, not go, but they don't care. They shouldn't go for political reasons. They will get a terrible news cycle out of this.
Yeah.
The more we're talking about it, the worse it is for those swing state suburban voters, mainly women, who are really repulsed by this kind of stuff. But they also just shouldn't go because it's such bad form. It's just such bad manners. So of course they'll go. They'll go.
Yeah. I mean,
I wouldn't
to your
advise it.
point about going there. So of course, Vivek Ramaswamy went there tonight and had a town hall. But just to give you a taste of what the town is saying back to him about what this all has done to them, listen to this.
Since this story leaked, and this is something that everyone needs to hear,
The hateful language in this community has spiked. It's really, really bad. I'm half black, I'm half Hungarian, I'm half black, half white, whatever you want to say. I've become a target of the hate. I could probably count on my hand, both hands, how many times a racial slur has been said my whole life. I've been called the N-word twice this week by just people who group me. It happens. Even though my skin may be lighter, I think people just group us together. There's horror stories of people who are darker skinned that have been chased down by people who are white, saying, get out of this country, friends of mine, friends of friends, and say, like, get out of here, you're Haitian, we don't want you here, even with the 6-month-old baby at a grocery store. So regardless, I find it shameful and I find it inappropriate whether I'm Haitian or American.
Your team comes to work, gets started, and disappears into 100 apps, each with their own greedy little text boxes.
He's lived in Springfield his whole life.
Yeah, but there's also, I mean, a lot of people live in Springfield who do want them to come, and the response was
Who do want who to come? Trump and Vance?
Yeah, there are people. I mean, Vance is the senator who won Springfield
But I mean,
in the
can
election.
you respond to what he just said there?
Sure.
You want to claim that this is broadly about immigration. He is saying this is about hate. And he is a victim of hate that was ginned up by a lie, a bald-faced lie.
Well, the police report wasn't a lie. The accusation was, and it manifested. There was a lot of people on social media.
The police report and the accusation, by the way, first of all, we don't know if they're the same thing, but it also was investigated and they found no evidence. It's
a lie.
But the police report was not a lie.
All due respect, we don't have to sanitize it. No, seriously though, because the reality is there are Black and brown people in that community right now who are less safe because of something that is untrue. I know everybody's playing for their sides. There's a red gang. We don't have to sanitize it. We don't have to make it seem like it's okay. What we can say that we can call upon the former president and his running mate to say that this stuff didn't happen. And they can try to repair that community through words, rhetoric, and action. But if we give them a soft bed to land on, by talking about why that in any way represents any type of sphere of reality, then we're codifying it. We're saying that it's okay to make up lies about a whole segment of the population and make them unsafe. I get that there are political differences, but we have to at least be able to agree that we don't want to do that.
So Senator Vance represents the city in the Senate. He won the city in his election. We don't know what he would say, and he has every right to be there, and as does Trump. And I think that back in 2016, there was a moment where there was a ravaged area of working class part of Louisiana, and Trump was the only candidate to go to it. Trump is the only candidate to go to parts of Ohio that dealt with the railroad issue. For working class people, Trump is their candidate, and Trump will probably be their candidate now. Can he do better with his rhetoric? Absolutely. But the reason that city is suffering as far as...
Can he do better with his rhetoric? Can he not lie about...
The reason that city is suffering is because there are 15,000 Haitians because of Biden and Harris's
There
policy.
are 60,000 people in that town, and they've had 33 bomb threats in a week.
From overseas.
That's bananas.
From overseas.
You're politicking,
From
man.
overseas.
That's bananas, man.
The number of people...
He put a target on that town to make a point about immigration in general. He put a target on the people in that town to make a point about immigration in general, to make Haitians into eaters of dogs and cats. That woman, who is a well-known Trump supporter, who's worn Trump shirts, who's very vocal about it, who lost Miss Sassy, at some point you have to check your sources, and apparently you have to check your basement, because that's where this cat was.
So the number of Haitians in Springfield who have on Medicaid went from under 300 to over 8,000
Are
in
you still
22
allowed to
months.
The
reason that the town is suffering is because of the refugee process.
One second. First of all, that has nothing to do with the lie about cats and dogs, first of all. Second of all, the immigrants in Springfield, many of them are in this country legally. Many of them are not even refugees, not even on TPS. Some of them are green card holders. There was someone, there's someone that CNN spoke with just today, a business owner who has a green card, who is considering moving his business out of Springfield because he is Haitian and he's experienced so much hate. You cannot change the subject from what started this, which was a lie.
The subject was the fact. I agree with you. I agree with you.
I'm going to stop you again because I have one more thing.
I just said I agree with you, but
I have one more thing I want to play, because this is another part of the story that we don't hear a lot about. Back in August, guess who started talking about the way that this town was being overrun by Haitian immigrants? Well, white supremacist groups. Watch this.
He's a literal Nazi. He marched with swastikas.
First of all,
Do not
I would like to dispel them. I've come to bring a word of warning.
Stop what you're doing before it's too late. Crime and savagery will only increase with every Haitian you bring in. And with it, public frustration and anger.
You sound threatening to me. I'm going
Based on the comments
I could
tonight,
ask the police to go ahead.
I'm
and
sure I don't need to tell you that.
Just sound threatening if you go ahead and just peacefully be removed.
That was August 27th at a Springfield town meeting. That woman in the video correctly says a literal Nazi showed up in their town to push these conspiracies and lies.
Yeah, look, I don't think this is helpful politically. We've talked a whole lot, Essie mentioned this, about suburban voters, swing voters that Donald Trump is absolutely going to need if he wants to win this thing. I think a part of a lot of voters' concern with the former president, even if they may say we'll think he'll do better on the economy, we think he's stronger on foreign policy, or we think he's stronger on immigration, it's the vitriol, it's the rhetoric, it's the nature of the rhetoric, it's the nature of his overall critique that turns people off. Now, with that said, folks are here legally. We can't deny that fact. Now, a lot of the business owners.
Nothing fires her up quite like helping her community. She fought for these new streetlights.
I stick with it until it happens. That's pretty much how I work.
Regular trash collection.
And everybody said that would never happen. They are not going to have garbage pickup in North Haven.
And the $250,000 renovation of this park.
My purpose is to serve and to serve others and be a part of change for the good.
It's safe to say any neighborhood would be damn lucky to have her. But in her effort to improve her small corner of the world, there's one thing Sarah isn't allowed to do.
I can't vote.
Tennessee.
Tennessee.
Tennessee. Welcome to Tennessee.
Lord, we don't have democracy
in Tennessee. Violations of the Voting Rights Act.
Lowest score when it comes to democracy.
Sarah has lived here since she was a kid. It's where she raised her children and her grandchildren, and where she now heads her neighborhood association.
I am your president.
But it's also where, back in 1992,
I got into a fight with a lady. It was a choice that I made in the heat of a moment that changed my life forever.
Sarah was convicted of aggravated assault, and like nearly all Americans convicted of a felony, Sarah lost her right to vote. But if Sarah lived in almost any other state, she'd be able to get her voting rights back.
Governor Steve Sisolak signed a bill today that restores the right to vote.
Restoring voting rights to 50,000 plus Minnesotans.
Because keeping people from voting after they've paid their debt to society is unfair and undemocratic. But not Tennessee. Its Republican-controlled government continues to march proudly in the opposite direction. As a result, 21% of Black adults in Tennessee have lost their right to vote because of a felony conviction. It's the highest rate in the country. That's over 200,000 people. The good news is Tennessee has a path for reclaiming voting rights. The bad news is the process is absurdly complicated. Here's what the Tennessee bureaucrats lined up for Sarah if she wants to vote in November. First, the state requires her to restore what are called her rights of citizenship. There's a couple ways to do this. She could file a request for the governor to pardon her, which includes gathering 5 letters of recommendation, writing a cover letter, writing a detailed 1-page narrative of her crime, and tracking down a certified copy of your criminal history report, certified copy of each judgment conviction for which you are requesting a certified copy of the order granting probation, certified copy of the orders of discharge from the probation and or copies of diplomas, degrees, certificates, and professional licenses, copies of any outstanding fines or forfeitures. Also, out of everyone who applied for clemency in the last fiscal year, only 3% were granted. Her other option is to hire a lawyer and try to convince a judge to restore her rights. This will cost her at least a couple grand. Who doesn't have a couple grand lying around? And many more grands if she needs to appeal. And get this, she'll also need to convince a judge to give her gun rights back, because in Tennessee, the right to bear arms is a right of citizenship. So if Sarah wants to restore her voting rights, the judge must also restore her gun rights.
What?
But wait, there's more. Sarah needs to get her hands on a document called a Certificate of Restoration, which certifies that she's completed her probation and paid off all her court costs and restitution. She could ask a probation officer to fill it out, but they may send her to the county clerk's office, who is going to need her to pay off any outstanding fines or fees she might have. She's pretty sure she's paid off all her debts, but she'll need the paperwork to prove it. And then she'll have to return to the clerk's office again, hoping they'll fill out the form. If Tennessee lawmakers designed this process to keep nearly 500,000 people from voting, they've been wildly successful. Guess how many have succeeded in restoring their voting rights between 2020 and 2022? Less than 1%.
Makes me feel like they're saying I'm not a citizen. You just here, like I'm a foreigner in my own country. It makes you want to give up.
Healthy democracies represent the will of the people. So when a state prevents nearly 10% of adults from voting, the process is broken. Some might say, that's the price of doing crime. But don't we believe in rehabilitation? In 2020, voting rights groups sued the state of Tennessee. The case is awaiting trial, but there's another way for the state to restore voting rights. Governor Bill Lee could follow the example of fellow Republican Governor Kim Reynolds, who used her executive power to do this.
Quite simply, when someone serves their sentence and pays the price our justice system has set for their crimes, they should have their right to vote restored automatically, plain and simple.
So what's the holdup, Governor Lee? You worried Sarah will turn Tennessee blue?
Who do you think you would vote for?
I might vote for Trump.
Your CEO is the boss of your company. But people mix this up. When you're in government and you're a city official or you're a mayor or whatever, your boss is actually the people who are in this room today. And it's not just the people in the city who mess that up, that's the federal government as well. And so what I hope to do today is to show that actually talking to the people of Springfield isn't that scary. The way the town council meeting, somebody came up, will be demonized for speaking about their own experience. We're live streaming this for the world to see that actually these are just good, patriotic Americans who love their country and love their city, who are struggling because the people who they elected to run their federal government all the way down have let them down. And you don't have to be scared of actually being face to face with your fellow citizens. So I did my best. I can't control what they do, but I did do my best to highlight this today.
If there's fear, and I'm going to say this, and people might not like it, maybe I shouldn't say it because my family's probably going to say something too, but I'm a Black woman in America. I'm going to put that. I've been in IT for over 40 years. I'm usually the only Black, and usually it was men that I work with, right? And so what I'm saying is there is that fear factor. There's a fear factor because you go in a place, you don't really know anyone, but you got to meet people, right? But the city officials, and I agree with you, I don't think all of them are that, but forget about the fear factor. People are hurting.
I agree with you.
And to
I
be
agree with
honest
you.
with you, I came up here for one reason. Hopefully they hear me. I live all over Springfield. I've been living in different parts of Springfield, okay, and I'm 66. But what I'm saying is people were afraid of me. The workers that I work were afraid of me because I was different, and they would tell me that after they became friends. I don't want to hear this fear factor, right? People are hurting. People are living in conditions that people don't know about at the official level because they don't live with those people.
Yeah, that's well said. I got a question for you. I got one question because you brought it up, right? You said you're a Black woman growing up here. Okay, so I grew up here, guy with brown skin, spent a lot of time in Springfield. You're a Black woman who lives in Springfield. So that the rest of the country can hear you, is Springfield a racist city?
To be honest with you, there are people there, but after they get to know you, that's gone.
Yes.
I live where there wasn't a lot of Blacks over there, right? And we were only 30 years. We built our house. My husband and I, we've been together for 51 years, married for 46. People were afraid when we moved in the neighborhood, okay? Okay? All my kids, 3 with masters, or 2 with masters, bachelors and everything, but they had block parties where everybody in the community around there for blocks around came and had parties and talked. The kids played with each other. Kids don't have fear. It's the adults that have fear.
Exactly.
So that's what I would say. If I
Want to uncover the key that makes him crave only you? If your man has become distant, or if it feels like
you Haitians would come, but then you talk with them. That doesn't have a nut in the tree someplace, and that's just the truth. That's the feel welcome, but they also have to learn. And they run into stuff, but they don't mean to, because guess what? The culture in where they came from is not our culture, and our culture is not there. We have to learn. But if everybody's so fearful, just leave Spring.
Am I allowed to move around a little
Yeah,
bit with
yeah,
the
absolutely.
microphone?
That
I've
way
been
we can
bringing
get- we
everybody
can
here,
get
but I want
around.
to try to get. Okay,
Exactly.
so I'm gonna.
Absolutely.
Why don't you come over here and we'll do your question here.
Good person, by the way, too, man. In this community, and I'm half black, half white, whatever you want to say, whole life. I've been called the N-word twice this week. I think people just group us together. There's horror 6-month-old baby at a grocery store. So regardless, I find it shameful and I find it inappropriate whether I'm Haitian or American.
Brock.
Yeah.
All right. So this is a serious question. I want to take a minute to address this. I can speak some truth here. I'm in the camp of long-standing believing that the United States of America is not a racist country and the least racist country known to mankind. I have never experienced that type of invidious racism growing up. But I also want to speak a hard truth here because there's something going on in the country right now. When I say right now, I'm talking like the last 9 to 12 months in this country. There is a weird uptick in racial tension in this country that did not exist in the 30 years that I grew up right here in Southwest Ohio. And I'll tell you what's going on, because this gets to the essence of what's going on in this country and bothers me. Take the immigration issue. You take 20,000 people who are unprepared to integrate into a community, dump them into a city of 50,000, you're going to get a reactionary response. Then you demonize the people who have the reactionary response, who say, oh, you're blaming me. They're going to have ill will, in this case, towards the Haitian community. On the racial point, let me mention this too, because I see this happening. There's no better way to create racism in America, anywhere, than to take something else away from someone's family because of their skin color. So whether it's a seat in college or whether it's a job or now even forms of federal aid under the likes of Gavin Newsom or Kamala Harris, say that you only get certain forms of aid. If you're a racial minority, if you're black or Hispanic, that actually creates more racial animus in response. And so this is what I think many people on the right sometimes miss, which is that are these anti-racist programs, are they racist against whites or Asians? They are, but actually it's not just that it's racist against whites and racist against Asians. It is literally fueling a new wave of anti-black racism in the country that otherwise would not have existed if it weren't for those woke anti-racist policies in the first place. It is divide and conquer. It's the media. The media is throwing kerosene on this. And so here's what was happening. It's like the final embers of racism were burning out in America. And then they're throwing kerosene on it all over again. It is a divide and conquer strategy. They want to divide us on ourselves. And you know who it's up to make sure they can't get away with that? It's up to us. It's up to we the people to say hell no to that vision. You will sell us this myth that we're divided. You're going to try to pit us against each other. But you know what? We the people who are citizens of the United States of America are the people who we actually elect a government to represent. And all of us are American, regardless of our race or creed, and that's what made this country great the first time around, and that's how we're going to make this country great again. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Thank you, Brock. Okay. Well, yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Hi. So I have a young daughter. I have two daughters, actually, and one of my daughter is younger. So I want to talk about the crime a little bit.
Sure.
Personal crime. So she's been followed around Walmart. She's been stalked. On her way, wanted to file a report. 2 hours, no one's reporting it.
That was your daughter. Any sense for whether those were illegal immigrants into the country? I mean, she probably wasn't conversing with them while they're chasing her with a machete, but okay, readily identified. See, here's the thing, and it's uncomfortable to say this, but it's true. If your first act of entering the country breaks the law, then you're more likely to break the law when you're already here, right? And this is, I don't like just talking about the easy issues. Let's talk about the hard issues. I mean, they hit President Trump a lot for the so-called, the one they really tried to nail him for was the family separation policy, right?
Right.
Anybody in this room know how many mothers in the United States of America are in prison right now? It's about 350,000, actually. And yes, I have a book coming out next week, and I've got a Fox Nation special coming out next week. It's called Truths. Lays out a lot of these hard truths. That's one of the truths. It's a hard truth. It's about 350,000 mothers who are in prison. You know who we don't make them take with them? We don't make them take their kids.
Children.
right?
Yeah, they're all over
And
the
we
place.
say that, you know, that's a difficult situation, but you deal with it in a different way. And so I think we have to restore the culture of the rule of law in this country. In this town alone, double the number of shoplifting crimes in the last 2 years. 2 years is not a long time for shoplifting rates to double. Auto thefts are up by over 50% in that same time frame. And as you said, based on your daughter's story, that's against the backdrop of many of them likely even going unreported. We got to restore that culture of the rule of law. But part of the reason we're seeing this too is that many illegal immigrants into this country, many other criminals in this country, when they see the top law enforcement agencies in the United States of America themselves not following the law, then they rightly ask the question, well, why the heck should I have to follow the law anyway? So top to bottom and bottom to top, we have to restore the rule of law in the United States. It's who we are, and that's how we save this country. So I appreciate that. I'm glad your daughter's safe. Thank you for sharing the story. Appreciate it. Tell her it's safe too. Thank you.
When the illegal immigrants are coming into not only Springfield, but throughout the country, and they get their benefits and they check a box to register to vote. And that's a very big concern. What you're thinking about illegals voting?
Yeah, I'm against it. That's sort of where I land on that question. I actually, I spoke to President Trump earlier today, and one of the things that makes a lot of sense is, the thing about him is he says a lot of things that make sense, and sometimes the things that make sense.
You could skip this ad, but don't skip the part that can help you get the job done. At Grainger, we're here for you with supplies and solutions for every.
Hurt your feelings a little bit for a while, and then you got to get over it and realize that actually there's a hard fact at the heart of it. So there's this statute called the SAVE Act. I don't know if anybody's heard of it. And it's this really controversial law that says that if you're going to vote, you have to be a citizen of the country. And you know what? For some reason, we just can't get that through. And actually, it's not just Democrats. I think that they have a lot of Republican reluctance around this too, which is strange to me. You know, I think that the reality is, if we can't agree that the people who vote in the United States of America ought to actually be citizens of this country, then I think we're done, actually. But here's why I don't think we're done, actually, because most people in this country, at the level of the citizens, we the people actually agree on that. It's the managerial class, and in some ways, the bizarrely behaving elected leaders of this country that are actually betraying we the people. Now, on this, my goal here is, this is not a campaign event. I wanted to come hear the concerns of the community and to share some of my own thoughts and start a conversation that this city, I hope, benefits from. But I will say that I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that you do have a chance to change it. Okay, you don't like the direction of the country and the way it's going. You want to change the rules. You got to win under the current rules first. And you each have an opportunity to do that on November 5th. So do your part as a citizen. You show up and you do your part. And I promise you, Donald Trump's going to do his. I'm going to do mine. And that's how we're going to have to save our country. We go. Oh, right here? Sure.
My name's Donald.
We met.
I was a Springfield resident for 50 years. Out of those 10 years, I was in California. I was homeless for 4 years in California, living in hotels, on the street, under bridges. I left and came to Ohio. The thing is, my question is, what is the United States government or state governments or local governments going to do about the homeless problem that is around the entire country? It seems like they care more for the illegal immigrants than they care about the homeless in our country.
So I'm going to say, I said one controversial thing earlier, which is that the people we elect to run the government should be the ones who actually run the government. I'll say a second controversial thing now. The first and sole moral duty of U.S. elected leaders is to U.S. citizens, period. And I don't think we're behaving that way today. Now, how do we address this problem of homelessness? We got to have more housing in the country that brings down the cost of housing. And the reason we don't have that, actually, a lot of this does start at the state and local level, where you have all of these zoning ordinances. You've got all kinds of regulations with respect to the sizes of homes that can be built. Sometimes for somebody's starter home doesn't have to be a mansion. but it can be a one-bedroom home or a single-family home that is more affordable. It's like the laws of supply and demand. If you have more supply, the cost is going to come down. It becomes more affordable. We need to increase housing construction in the country. And I know it takes a lot of guts, man, to say that, to share that background of yours coming from California to here. I hope you find a better life in Ohio than you did in California. And if I have anything to do with it, I promise we're going to try to make sure that you do. So thank you. I appreciate it, brother. Thank you. It's good to meet you, man.
Yes, sir. So my question is, I'll make it short and sweet. I've been here for 35 years here in Springfield, Ohio. As you guys, I'm a full-blown Trump supporter. I'm a full believer that he's the man that's going to save us. Do you currently think right now that the current administration is the reason we're having all this trouble currently here in Springfield, Ohio?
I do, actually. I really do. And that's actually probably the number one most important policy takeaway here. You know, I think if you're going to run for public office at the local level or at the state level, you got to be ready to take the heat. All right. If you can't handle the heat, stay out of the kitchen. And I do think that criticism at every level is fair. But if you want to understand where I think the real problem is, I don't think Houdini himself as a magician could have fixed a problem in Springfield if you have federal policies that are permitting millions of illegals and stretch the law to make them legals entering this country and dumping them into cities like this one. It'd be like the equivalent of sending 2 million additional people to New York City. Can you imagine that? That's the effect of sending 20,000 people to Springfield. That's a direct result of those federal policies. And again, you don't always have a chance to change it. But this time, in about 50 days, you actually do. And it's time that we actually use our chance to do it. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Bill Albright, I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio. This country cares more about Ukraine's borders, Israel's borders, everybody else's borders, transgenders in Pakistan. They quit caring about us long before Trump's last administration. This country's gone downhill for a long time. And the Declaration of Independence states that people have a right to alter or abolish the government that is destructive of their rights and safety. It's been like that for a long time. When did we burn it down? I like your ideals.
Thank you, my man. I appreciate it. And you know what? I don't think it makes sense to send a bunch of your taxpayer money so some Ukrainian bureaucrat can buy a bigger house. I'd rather this gentleman right here buy that bigger house. So thank you. I appreciate you sharing that. Well, we're going to do our best to change it, brother. Thank you, my man. I appreciate it. Thank you for. And you know what? Shut it down is the way I say it in terms of a lot of these regulatory, in the regulatory state and the federal government. The right answer is we're never going to actually reform that beast. Some Republicans, I think, fall into this trap. Good people, but they fall into this trap saying, hey, we're going to get there and reform it around the edges and cut off one head of an 8-headed hydra. It grows right back.
The pineal gland has tiny little cilia, hair-like extensions all around it. When you hold your breath,
You want to actually fix this, you get in there and you go from one agency to another, millions of federal bureaucrats haven't earned an honest dollar in the private sector in their lives. Go in there and actually shut it down. And then you start actually, and the NGOs are part of it, just part of the 3-letter agency. So that's my philosophy. But I think we're going to do it. Our founding fathers had to do it one way. We're going to do it the peaceful way. And we're going to do it the way that we're not there yet. We're at a place in the country where it's a 1776 spirit. Channel that to what we do this November. And that's the way we'll get it done for the country. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Mr. Ramaswamy, so my mother voted for Hillary Clinton in 2016. She voted for Joe Biden in 2020. She voted for Obama twice. What can I do to convince her to vote for Donald J. Trump this November? How can I convince her to secure my future as an American? How can I convince her to make sure I have a future I can look forward to and not make that mistake again?
How old are you, man?
I am 19 years old.
He's 19 years old. I love this guy. So you gotta love your mom, all right? Just as a mom, you know why I can say that? Because she's raised a good son, and that's the best mark of a good mother right there. So here's the thing. I don't actually, sometimes people, when they've just been inculcated into a culture by the media, et cetera, first thing, take that TV remote at home and just turn it off. Shut that down too, actually. All right. The next thing to do is actually, how did she manage to raise somebody who actually was this young and good? It's by having school systems that actually focus on the education and merit of children rather than some equity agenda. How are you going to get a job when you graduate from high school or from college? Who's actually going to allow you to earn more money? Lay it out for her. And Kamala Harris, she wants taxes on unrealized capital gains, tank the economy, shut down drilling, increase gas costs, and actually shut down the economy. Tell her this. I think it might be the most convincing thing because nothing overrides the parental instinct. You're going to actually live a better life, you personally, and make more money after you get out of high school or after you get out of college if Donald Trump's in the White House rather than Kamala Harris. And I think that's going to convince your mom to bring her along. So tell her to try it. And the last thing I'll say is, you tried it the other way. You said Obama twice, Hillary, Joe Biden. You tried it the other way 4 times, and here's where we are. What's the harm in trying the other way 1 time and see how it turns out this time? So that's what I would say. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yes, yes. Good to see you, my man. Thank you. I appreciate it, brother. Thank you. Thank you. You keep at it. So, thank you. Yeah. It's good to see you. Thank you. It's great to be here.
I'm on my X. I know where to go. So I'm here today. I follow you on Twitter. One of only 3 politicians that I follow.
Who are the other 2? I'm curious.
RFK Jr.
Okay.
And Tulsi Gabbard.
All right. Good people.
Anyway, I've probably gotten in trouble now. Anyway,
Not my book. Yeah.
So your initial tweet on Saturday, first thing it's kind of 2 things. Number 1, the first thing that you said is you wanted to come and help, and I appreciate that. And you said you want to bring a contribution, to a nonprofit. And you answered part of that earlier, but it seems that money is still up for grabs.
It is. I would love, as long as it supports this community.
Yes,
as long as it supports this community, absolutely.
I work for a nonprofit in Springfield. It's a faith-based nonprofit. We have 26 ministry partners doing incredible work in our city. We have multiple multiple partners that are community partners. We work with our local schools. We work with our health department to try to tackle some of the biggest problems in our community. And this is the respect and honor.
You come up next. You come up next.
This is the respect and honor that you ask for. So here's what I will say. Because we have started we asked our business and government, what is the biggest problems in Springfield right now with the Haitians? And they said, well, we need driving school and we need them to learn English because 80% of our population cannot speak to 20% of our population. And we said, okay, we've already proven that we can solve problems in our schools by connecting churches to schools and meeting 300. Wow, facts. I'm sorry, there's facts. Literally.
We'll give him his turn and
literally.
We'll just one.
This is my minute.
We'll give you the turn. We'll give you the mic.
Jiminy Christmas.
You get to finish, sir. You get to finish, sir, and then we're going to give her a chance. Thank you.
So here is.
And you get to speak next.
The problem. Thank you. I actually have facts. We've given away $300,000 from the faith community to solve families' problems in our city schools. It's an incredible program. It's nationwide. It's called Care Portal. We are the implementing partner of the year nationwide. We are doing really good work in Clark County with that. But the needs are vast because of the overwhelming.
So may I just say one thing? Because I'm happy to commit to this. I will look at and learn more about the work. And I will say something. I know it feels like we have a disagreement. We're going to give this woman a chance just to speak right after. But here's one thing I will say is, irrespective of this specific exchange, I think actually the revival of faith in our country is going to be a good thing to reunite us. That much I stand for. And in terms of the impact that I want to have, one of the things I've made, you make mistakes as philanthropists. You think you're having an impact, you give money, and then it doesn't actually have an impact on the cause you thought it was given to. I want to make sure that we're helping this community, and I promise you that I will take an honest and earnest look at whatever you're working on, okay? I appreciate that. Thank you. I'm going to give this woman a chance to speak, and then we'll move on.
I need to respond to what she said.
Give her a chance to speak, because we couldn't hear her. We couldn't hear her.
So being doxxed and having all of your private information
information on public is okay with people like this.
So-
that's what they're doing to us.
So, sir, I want to be have a seat, and we can actually have her speak as well. Yes,
No,
go
and
ahead.
I think,
Good. We said two rules tonight: honesty and respect. So
Right.
we're going to follow both of them. Okay.
I think that we've had a lot of church groups in Springfield community, Catholic, Christian organizations that have, they've contributed to bringing to, we could have handled 3,000, 4,000 people. No, we're not unwelcoming to that effect. But 20,000, when does it stop? And we've had a lot of outside with religious organizations, some cults, who have brought in and who have benefited, whether it's a financial benefit, if it's an ego, from their ego to benefit, to virtue signal that they're good people. And they have done a disservice. They have done a disservice to our community. And again, I'll get up to 5,000, 15 or 20. I want to say to the Haitian community that I'm not mad at the Haitian community. I get it. I would have ran here.
If we were in their shoes, we'd have done the same thing. I agree with you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm not an unkind person. And I've been kind and I will continue to be kind.
Watch what avocado does to belly fat.
Fun fact, if you add avocado to a salad, you will absorb more.
But it's been enough. We have been called racist by our mayor, by our city council. We have had NGOs come into the city council, call us racist, put up signs in their churchyard. I love Jesus with all my heart. But you gotta bring truth in the word of Christ and not bits and pieces. We're not doing that. And that is what we're seeing in our community. I don't know what to do. Like, you're here, Vivek. What do we do when you're not here anymore? What do we do for our mayor who is pushing back on us instead of the federal and state government? We are the one he's pushing back on.
So let me tell you. No, don't apologize. Never apologize for speaking your mind. And I want to be respectful of this gentleman as well. But let me see if I can build one bridge here we might be able to agree on. All right. I talk about this in some of my writing, my upcoming book, and we talk about a solution that maybe we can, as people of faith, agree on here. You're a Christian. You believe in God. You have a kind heart. You also believe that we have to protect our country, and we can't, through the back door, actually slowly erode the fabric and the economic health and security of cities like Springfield. For those who have a charitable mindset, those who have compassion for kids who are born in the third world or in nations like Haiti, there is an option that we actually don't talk enough about. Consider adoption, actually. Consider, you adopted. Really? Okay, I didn't know, we've never met, I promise. But
Yeah, no, I did,
everybody else,
yeah.
but I know that. You adopted.
I sure did.
So I think that our country, if you want to actually exercise charitable instincts, America First applies to the government, but if you in your life actually want to alleviate human suffering, that's one of the most beautiful things you could do. And I think adopting a child, especially for people who have the capacity, interest of raising or bringing more children into the world and bringing them up in a household as Americans, in that case, is a great way to do it. America also has a great tradition of philanthropy. We're one of the most philanthropic nations in the history of Earth, actually. There's no other nation with a greater culture of philanthropy than in the United States. And so there are many ways to exercise compassion for those who are suffering in other parts of the world or elsewhere, maybe born into families where they weren't able to be raised. Sound like you have actually been somebody, thank you for also considering adoption as a path. But that doesn't mean that bringing those people through our government ordained or NGO ordained systems to the United States of America, that's not the right answer when we're actually, as public officials, looking after the citizens of our own country. And you said this, what are you going to do when I'm gone? Look, I'll make one promise to you. The promise I'll keep to you is I will look after whatever I believe is the right nonprofit cause to drive maximal positive change in Springfield, and I will follow through on that, even though my first attempt at that was thwarted. My commitment to you is I don't know what comes next for me after this next 50 days. We got a goal. But you know what? If we move to Springfield, Mayor, no, I promise you that we will do whatever we can to actually serve this country in the biggest way possible. I promise you that. I'll keep that promise, and our family's fully behind it. So thank you.
I have to say that the people of Springfield have been awesome, you guys as well, but it's a little bit different. I try to imagine having one third of my town being filled with immigrants. The local governments are not taking care of the citizens rather than them. But I see that a lot. I'm talking a lot. I've interviewed so many people. A lot of citizens here in Springfield feel completely forgotten, 100%. And I'm going to wrap it up. One question to you: are you going to run for governor of Ohio? And
You're seeing Skechers' famous glide step footwear everywhere. And now that famous design is available in hand.
I'm a little more inclined than I was about 10 seconds ago.
my second question is, a little education goes a long way. These Haitians were here because of July 7th, 2021. That's what they told me. They were also told by the local governments here that they were here to help the economy. I'm being honest. That's what they've told me. A lot of different Haitians have told me that. So my question to you is how can you energize this community to be more effective in a positive manner than the negative manner that we've been seeing in the media, which I don't think is happening, but how can we spread a positive message through what's going on in Springfield? Thank you.
Sure, I appreciate it. Well, I think that the truth of the matter is, while we're here in Springfield, and I'm here because I grew up near here, city's important to me. You draw a 50-mile radius around Springfield, just circle it. That's actually just a cross-section of the country. And so the other reason we're here is the story of Springfield is the story of the United States of America right now. And so how are we going to fix it? I think it starts with, first of all, overcoming that culture of fear we talked about. You're doing it today. Tell your neighbor what you actually think, not some woke-washed version of it. Seek the truth for yourself. Don't depend on cable television to serve it up for you. And then the truth of the matter is, you know what? Most people in this country are earnest, hardworking people when given. But to keep it that way, we got to separate. And I use this expression, all right? I teach it to my kids. It's actually our family saying, you got to be strong enough to protect your kindness. Both of those things are important. Okay, so yes, should we preserve our kindness and our charitable instincts for those who are suffering anywhere? Absolutely. But we're never, as a country, going to actually be able to do that unless we actually preserve our own strength as well. So that means saying no when appropriate, even in the face of being called a racist or a xenophobic person or transphobic or whatever it is, the next insult they'll use. Now, you got to be strong enough to say, this is what's right for my duty. As a mayor of a city, my duty is to the residents of this city. As a governor of a state, my duty is to the residents of this state. As a president of the United States, my duty is to the citizens of this nation, not another one. But to remember at every step, that's not because you were unkind. It's because you have to be strong enough to protect your kindness in the first place. And it's by remembering both of those things that we actually save this country and revive who we are. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. Thank you for being here. Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Bruce. My son is serving in the Army right now over in Germany.
Your son?
My son is.
Well, tell him thank you for his service. I appreciate
But
it.
the problem is, he's married over there. He's going to be having a baby next month. For him to get the baby to come here to the United States and his wife, he has to do 4 more years. But the Haitians come over here and get everything.
So in order for, I missed that because
For them to get their visa, their plane ticket, he has to do 4 more years.
That doesn't sound right to me. I mean, he's more than getting screwed, but this is why. Anybody aware of this? We have a 25%. People aren't stupid. They're saying, if this, what I want you to talk to me after this or talk to my team after this. I want to make sure the rest of the country is able to hear the story of a man who is serving his nation, having a baby abroad. We should be celebrating that child as a child of this nation, especially against the backdrop of a southern border that's as open as we've ever had. No, we can't have both those things at once. I'm not okay with that. And we're going to make sure that gets fixed. I appreciate that, my man. Thank you. Tell your son thank you.
And obviously around here, we've had a lot of traffic issues. But it goes a little further in my mind when it comes to like crime and things like that also. And I try to follow what each side would do in terms of with people that are doing crime, because in our community in
Sure.
a bad way and our community in a bad way. So what's the solution?
Well, first thing I want to do is also recognize the fact that we're able to have this discussion here is in part possible because we got law enforcement here in Springfield today. We're protecting us. A couple of you in the back. So thank you for your service to this community. And I think part of the problem in this country is that we have handcuffed police officers' ability to actually do their jobs. We got it backwards. So here's what's going on in the country is at the federal level, federal law enforcement, right? The FBI, the ATF, you name it, go straight down the list of the three-letter agencies.
How to eat white rice and stay thin like in Japan.
Rice is unfortunately pure glucose.
They're making up crimes that don't exist versus their political opponents. Donald Trump's at the top of that list, in my opinion. But at the same time, you got political belief. We used in this country, it's existed. The FBI has discriminated based on race in our national history. Today, there's discrimination based on political belief. But the problem is at the local level. So at the federal level, they're making up enforcement of laws that don't actually exist or that are unconstitutional. And at the local level, we're failing to actually enforce the laws that protect people in their communities. We got to actually fix that bottom up where the people we really need enforcing laws right now more than ever are at the local level, and tell the police officers like those here in Springfield that, you know what, we actually have your back. Don't defund the police, actually fund and build up the police, restore law and order in the United States of America, including in Ohio. And I'll tell you, that's not just Donald Trump's job, because most of those laws are enforced by states. And we need leaders at the state level, state legislators, governors, mayors.
May not be a reliable method for overturning absentee ballots from voting. We encourage old clothes instead of that.
Get her back. All right, I have to tell you, somebody said, well, what's it been like the last 6 weeks? Pretty strange, pretty strange. Not weird, just pretty strange. So a little different. So, but if it weren't enough to be Vice President Kamala Harris's running mate, if that weren't enough, I'm here with Anthony and Liza today. No old white guy could ask for more. Trust me. So, yeah. I also, so all of you know, I'm always out there, spotting talent and stuff. Can we all agree there's a second career for Liza and Anthony here at some point? And yeah, they're great at what they do, but that type of passion, that type of vision, incredible. So all of you, Minnesota and Pennsylvania do have a lot in common. But I am quick to point out Super Bowl rings are not one of them. So, hey, Vikings are 2-0. Give me this moment. Give me this moment. So, but look, these two states do share a lot of history. It's the history about building this country. American steelworkers have long been a path to our economic strength and our arsenal of democracy. Steelworkers have always had America's back. Vice President Harris and I will have their back. Here's the connections. Here's the connections, people. I'm a geography teacher for 20 years. By the way, thank you to the folks at Freedom High School for having us right here. Northern Minnesota has some of the richest iron mine deposits in the world. That iron from the Northern Minnesota Iron Range fueled the steel mills here right in the Lehigh Valley. Together, it was our people that built the tanks that won World War II and freed the world from Nazi oppression. And I don't know if you noticed that Nazi tyranny We got folks running as Republicans for governor that are proud to refer themselves as Nazis. Let's not pretend that there's a gradual difference between the folks that are running here, that they're running together. Across this country, we forged the bridges, we built the highways, we built the skyscrapers, and we are still and we are ready to continue to build the future together. Another proud part of our two states' heritage is we have a long history of being home to Puerto Rican and Latino families who chose to start their lives in our state. They grew our economy, and every single day, their presence in our states and our country make us stronger and better. And during this Hispanic Heritage Month, Vice President and I are celebrating the collective contributions of Puerto Ricans and the entire Latino community. And for so many of their families, we recognize a painful anniversary of the landfall of Hurricane Maria, which continues to have a devastating impact. In March, Vice President Harris visited San Juan. She pledged to continue supporting the reconstruction. And when she and I are in the White House, you can count on our support. Now, to all of you, it is a beautiful fall day in Eastern Pennsylvania. You could have been anywhere. You've got kids at soccer practice. You're ready for football. You're doing things at home, and it's a day off. But not this crew. You chose to come here. And the reason is simple. You love this country. That's why you came. Kamala Harris understands that. She understands what it means to serve. From her first day as a prosecutor, a district attorney, and then Attorney General of the state of California, and Vice President of the United States. She has had one thing on her mind. She serves the people. She serves the people. Her job is to serve and protect those people, whether it was taking on predators and fraudsters trying to cheat people, or whether it was taking on transnational gangs and greedy corporate interests. She was there and never hesitated to work with anybody across the aisle to get things done for the American people. And you can see it in her leadership. You can see it in her leadership. She talks often about this, and I love it when she says it. A mark of leadership is not who you can push down, it's who you can lift up. And of all of the hard things she's done and the difficult decision for people, she's done what you all know and what you can feel in this room. Hard work can be good work. Democracy is as you heard Anthony say, is a precious privilege and gift that we need to protect. And you can do it with joy, optimism, grace, and happiness. You can do it. I'm proud to be a part of this fight with her. I am proud. She oftentimes talks about it. Look, Tim and I grew up geographically a long ways apart, from Oakland, California to small towns in rural Nebraska. I grew up in a town. Now, when you come from a small town, you heard John Mellencamp's music playing. You out small town people. I had 24 kids in my graduating class. 12 were cousins. But what you learn is your community is your family. You take care of one another. You look out for them. You lift them up. Kamala Harris says that. We didn't grow up in the same place, but we grew up around the same people. People who worked hard for a living. People who understand how to pay their bills and wanted to see their children get ahead. Understood, as Anthony always talks about, the power of a teacher in public education to make a difference. Servant leadership for the common good. Those are the things that animated me, and those are the things that animate Kamala Harris. Now, look, you have to talk a little bit about contrast. You have to talk about contrast. Not every set of. Now, I want to tell you something. You know politics. We've been in politics. we've been in politics. We know that there's no expectation that there will be 100% agreement on things, but there's shared values. And the one thing I will tell you, a remarkable thing happened. It's pretty obvious to us that Donald Trump and J.D. Vance do not share our values in any way. They do not share our values. Look, it's not even about policies. It's about sharing our values. Last week, Senator from the state of Ohio did something really surprising. He told an absolute truth in this. That shouldn't be a low bar, but he told the truth. He admitted to creating stories about people that live in his state, immigrant families, to spread fear and drum up hatred to people in his community. His Republican governor had to write an op-ed saying none of those things are true about our community. But he says, if he can't say these things, it's censorship. Well, let's understand what he's talking about here. Censorship is when they want to ban books, by the way. That's censorship. What he did had consequences. And those consequences was that same Republican governor had to send state law enforcement to escort kindergartners into their school to learn. So let's just be clear, starting at that point. We can think about and extrapolate from that. They're probably not telling the truth about a lot of things if they're not telling the truth about that. Now, fabulous. She knew the issues and she was wonderful and she laid things out, except she says this. They say this to me. Oh, I'm so surprised she did that. I'm like, oh. Why would you be surprised? Why would you be surprised that this incredibly talented, effective, compassionate leader would be compassionate and leading? I oftentimes say is you don't win elections you don't win elections. Like Smith died because he couldn't get something that cost drug manufacturers less than $5 to manufacture, and he was being asked to pay $600 for it. The Affordable Care Act protects us, and Kamala Harris is making sure that every single person in every single state has access. We did it in Minnesota, and we're seeing more homes, and rents actually went down 4%. Where is rent going down? It goes down when you're able to create more housing. We did it in Minnesota, and we're seeing more homes, and rents actually went down 4%. Where is rent going down? It goes down when you're able to create more housing. That's what ends up happening. Also saw that many of you know it's expensive when you have children. It's expensive. Don't we know it? And for some of you who have little children, it doesn't get much less expensive as they get older. But here's the deal. Kamala Harris is going to make it less expensive. She is doing what we've seen when states do it, and we saw it during COVID pandemic. She has a child tax credit that's going to put $6,000 into the hands of parents that first year. Buy a crib. Think it. Americans aren't asking for that much. They're asking to be left alone. They're asking to be able to make a decision. They're allowing to ask for about $4.10 a bushel. It takes about $5 just to break even. Farmers aren't getting rich off what's happening right now. The folks who are trying to make the products that we have aren't, but corporate profits have doubled and corporate pay has quadrupled in many cases. Now look, we're all for a fair economy. We're all for people making it, but you can't rig the economy making things more expensive for the very people who are making and growing those products. That's what she's taking on. And just this week, the Biden-Harris administration is taking on Big Pharma because they're still trying to drive up the price of insulin and overcharge because we don't have a national $35 cap on that. Kamala Harris will make it happen. Absolutely. And look, we've been able to do a lot of this in Minnesota because what happens when you elect people who care about the middle class, when you elect people who look like the people who are voting, you get policies that help those very people, whether it's on home ownership, whether it's on insulin, whether it's on an ability to collectively bargain and form a union with your neighbors. I've been told that I am, for decades, a card-carrying union member of our state's teachers union, which I was. The last union member on a national ticket, Ronald Reagan. I promise you, I will not lose my way. I will not lose my way. You know what's interesting, too? I was also told that I may, teacher, working and serving as governor, that I may be the poorest person who's ever run on a national ticket. And then the Wall Street Journal wrote a story and said, well, that doesn't tell the whole story. He has more money than you think he does. No, you think this is a bombshell, like a North Carolina thing or something. I don't know. Like a bombshell. I'm like, what is the bombshell? Is he hiding assets offshore? Or what? Does he have a trust fund? Oh, no. He has a defined benefit pension plan. Our wish, Vice President Harris, and my wish is that every American had a defined benefit pension plan. Because at the heart of this is about freedom to live the life you want to live with dignity, whether it's being in retirement, starting your own businesses, and to choose the life you want to live, not the government. Now, I see some of you, I see some of the older folks here can actually remember, and it's like telling young people, there was a time when Republicans talked about freedom, they actually meant it. In the long ago time, it feels like. Because right now, when they talk about freedom, the freedom of government to be able to invade your bedroom, the freedom of government to invade your exam room, the freedom of government to invade your school libraries and take them. Look, they spend a lot of damn time trying to ban books. We spend our time in Minnesota banning hunger by giving free meals to our kids. Now look, I'm not asking us, and you hear it, I'm not asking us all to think the same. I'm not asking for an expectation that we all agree. My God, a successful marriage is 51-49, and we're like, good, we're close, we're good, we're on the winning side. We know how that works, and we respect other people's decisions. That's part of being America. You respect those decisions. Now, we might not make those same decisions. We might say, I don't know, I'm not going with that. But I keep saying, and I know it's here, and you know it's an absolute truth. The golden rule that makes society and communities function and families function is mind your own damn business. You don't need me. You don't need me. You certainly don't need Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. Not just opining about what type of family you should have, but actually trying to legislate what type of family you should have. So there's people out there, and you've seen them. You know the names now. No one should know who Hadley is, and no one should know who Amanda is. But those brave women have put themselves out there because they went through what Donald Trump is trying to do to all the rest of us, trying to be involved in our reproductive decisions. And for my wife and I, it's nobody's damn business about our family, but we've talked about it. We've talked about it. And the reason we're talking about it is because it's so important. We tell the story, my wife and I, and this should be private and personal, but they make it everybody's damn business that we weren't able to have children and we're dealing with infertility. So we were lucky enough because I had a union that got me health insurance. We were able to have access to those fertility treatments. And some of you heard me say this. And when that daughter was finally born, we named her Hope because it's the most powerful word. They want to talk about government spending. They should, because Donald Trump added more to the national debt than any other president ever. So that's just factual. But you know how they get in there? I always tell this one. They say government doesn't work. Then they get elected and prove it. That's what they do. That's what they do. Because they know when they give tax cuts to the wealthy, then they can go after things that other people really care about, like Social Security and Medicare. Then they can try and claim that the national debt is the fault of Social Security and Medicare. And I get it. They don't give a damn about Social Security and Medicare. Why would they? If you have $1 billion, you don't worry about Social Security and Medicare. We do. My mom does. My 89-year-old mom does, because that's how she pays for her living expenses. It's pretty damn important. And oh, by the way, my dad and her worked their whole lives to get that. And I'll be damned that if we give a tax cut to billionaires and undermine that. So is the vice president. How did they all figure it out? Because I don't believe they love their children any more than us. I believe they love their children just like us. But
year-old and my 4.5-year-old. So, and they are thrilled to be in Pennsylvania, but they're particularly thrilled to go to the Hershey Park later today. And as a lot of you with kids will know, it's so amazing when you have kids and you see how innate their personalities really are. So the 7-year-old is probably somewhere around here reading a book. He's like his mother, and the 4.5-year-old is much more like his dad. He's probably trying to find a building to burn down or something like that. Just total Asian of chaos. So I apologize, but Vivek, if you're listening, don't do anything crazy, please. We got to win Pennsylvania, and we can't let a 4.5-year-old prevent that from happening. Now, look, I don't know if y'all have noticed, but, Kamala Harris does this interesting thing where the only time she speaks before the American people is when she's got a teleprompter right in front of her. And I think it's because she has no idea what to say unless somebody else is writing her lines for her. Isn't that a disgrace? Now she will, I'll give Kamala Harris a little bit of credit because over the past 50 days, y'all, now don't run me out of town yet. I said I'd give her a little bit of credit. I give Kamala Harris a little bit of credit because she's given 2 interviews over 50 days of being the Democratic Party's nominee. Now, I think I've figured out the secret, though. The reason Kamala doesn't get very many interviews is because every time she does, I think we pick up about 100,000 votes. So I guess Kamala's attitude is better hide from the American people. But Kamala Harris, there is no hiding from the wisdom of the voters of Pennsylvania. And in 44 days, you're fired. Now, it's so funny. I talk to the president, of course, all the time. And he and I think, figured it out a few days ago. Kamala Harris, she's running from every position that she has ever had. Now, she said she ran on defunding the police. And while she's been vice president, there's been no vice president in this country's history who's more anti-law enforcement. But now she says she didn't mean it. Now, 3.5 years ago, Kamala Harris said that she wanted to ban fracking. And how would that go over for the workers of Pennsylvania? Not very well at all. But now Kamala Harris says, well, she didn't mean it. Three and a half years ago, Kamala Harris suspended deportations. She stopped Donald Trump's wildly successful Remain in Mexico policy. And she radically increased asylum fraud in this country, opening the southern border and flooding communities like this one with deadly fentanyl and a lot of crime. But now Kamala Harris says, no, I didn't mean to do that.
In a kitchen, everything should work around you. Reflect your taste in every sense. The new Miele kitchen appliances are more intuitive than ever before. That's quality ahead of its time. Miele, immer besser.
Being able to have something to always protect myself with this Byrna allows me to have that peace of mind no matter.
And we figured it out. She can't be trusted. You're exactly right. But I think what I've figured out is that Kamala Harris knows that she's not going to win this race. So she's auditioning for my job. And I told the president, sir, you got to be worried because she's going to show up at one of these rallies with a long red tie and a Make America Great Again hat. But here in Pennsylvania and all across our country, we are not going to let Kamala Harris forget that she opened the border, that she went to war with the police, that she tried to ban fracking, and she is fired on November the 5th, and we're not going to let her get away from it. Now, this is our second stop here in Pennsylvania. We got in earlier this morning, and we stopped at a grocery store. And this goes to show you, I love my kids so much. They're so funny, but I brought them along with me. And the reason I brought them along with me is I'm very proud of my 4.5-year-old. Yeah, he's a bit of a wild child, but he and his mom have been doing reading lessons, and they did their 100th reading lesson this morning. So I'm a very proud father, but that's why they're with me. Is one of their rewards is they get to ride around the beautiful state of Pennsylvania with me. Now, we went to a grocery store, and I said, well, another reward is that you can pick anything you want in this grocery store. And I assume, of course, that they want a piece of candy. But again, my 7-year-old, he's just like his mother. He's very, very practical. He's what they call a type A personality. And I'm talking about grocery prices, which we'll get to in a second. And the media's sitting there, and my son tugs on my shirt. He says, Dad, we need eggs. And I said, son, when I said you could get anything, I thought maybe you meant like a Snickers bar or something. He said, Dad, you used the last 3 eggs this morning. We got to get eggs. So I'm like, all right, son, we'll get an ice cream sandwich and I will get a dozen eggs. And that's exactly what we did. But, it reminded me, a dozen eggs, almost $4 in the state of Pennsylvania. When Donald Trump was president, you know what a dozen eggs cost in this country? About $1.50. And in the state of Pennsylvania, one of the worst, actually, I didn't know this until recently. Y'all have had one of the worst grocery price inflation in the entire country. A gallon of milk costs $4.28. Thanks, Kamala Harris. A dozen eggs costs almost $4. Thanks, Kamala Harris. A price of ground beef went from just shy of $4 a pound to $6 a pound because Kamala Harris cast the deciding vote on the Inflation Explosion Act. And as Kamala Harris, she is, my friends, I haven't been in politics long enough to be as shameless as Kamala Harris and stand before the people of Pennsylvania and America and say on day one, she's going to tackle the affordability crisis affecting American families. Kamala, day one was 1,400 days ago. What the hell have you been doing that whole time? If she wants to do something to fix the very problem she created, there is nothing stopping her. You get to work right now, Kamala Harris. Stop talking about what you're going to do and actually go out there and do it. Now, it's not just grocery prices. It's everything is more expensive in this country. Americans cannot afford to live a good life in this country because of Kamala Harris's policies. It's crazy. Now, think about this. Donald Trump and I believe in a very simple principle, that if you work hard and play by the rules, you ought to be able to get ahead in this country that all of us love. Isn't that simple? That is right, man. That is the American dream. And one of the most critical parts of the American dream is being able to afford a home. And right now, thanks to Kamala Harris's policies, homes are skyrocketing. Mortgage interest rates are as high as they've been in a generation. And a lot of young Americans feel like they cannot afford a home in this country. And I think that's disgraceful. One of the reasons why we got to get Donald Trump back in the White House is because we want young Americans to be able to afford to own a stake in this country. And they will when we get Donald Trump back. Now, here's the thing. This is not rocket science, right? Why have homes gotten so expensive? Well, 2 reasons. Number one, Kamala Harris cast the tie-breaking vote, the deciding vote on the Inflation Explosion Act. That shot interest rates through the roof. And the other thing Kamala Harris did is that her border policies welcomed 25 million illegal aliens into this country. People who shouldn't be here. People who are competing against you and your children to buy the homes that ought by rights go to American citizens. So our message to Kamala Harris is stop giving American homes to foreigners who shouldn't be in this country. Start giving them to American citizens who deserve to be here and ought to be able to afford a stake. Now, unfortunately, my friends, we know that it is not just higher housing prices and higher grocery prices. And yes, overcrowded schools. That's not the only consequences of illegal immigration, thanks to Kamala Harris's open border, because there's a lot of crime. There's a lot of crime committed by people who shouldn't be in this country to begin with. And I just want to, I want to read through this. Now, earlier this year, an illegal immigrant from Guatemala killed a 21-month-old child in Chester County. That's just earlier this year. In 2022, fentanyl, thanks to Kamala Harris's open borders, became the most common source of overdose deaths in this country. Thank you to Kamala Harris, who allowed the Mexican drug cartels to turn our country into a drug trafficking zone. There are a lot of people who are dying of drug overdoses, a lot of lives who've been ruined because of that. And ladies and gentlemen, one of the things I really love about our country, and I believe that every single person in this room would agree with me, is the American dream is not just a dream for people who did everything right all the time. It's an American dream for people who want second chances. And I believe that in this country, we can have more second chances if we just get smarter policies. And this is something that is very personal to me, because those 2 beautiful boys that are running around outside, they have gotten a second chance with their grandmother, my mother, because this is a great and generous country. Now, a lot of you know that I was raised by my grandmother. And the reason I was raised by my grandmother, I called her Mamaw, we love Mamaw, is because my own mom struggled with opioid addiction for a big chunk of my early life. And I remember being that teenager at my mom's bedside, begging and praying to God that she would wake up from whatever she had taken. And what I worry about is that there are a lot of kids and a lot of grandparents who are having those exact same prayers go unanswered because of the poison that Kamala Harris has let come into this country. Now, I am proud. I am so proud of her that mom is close to 10 years. This coming January, 10 years clean and sober for my mom. And it's all of these public safety issues. I mean, in this state, property crimes are up 20%. In this state, 12 more minors died from gun violence, thanks again to Kamala Harris's policies. And right now, there are 250,000 illegal aliens in the state of Pennsylvania, thanks to Kamala Harris's policies. And that doesn't count all the people who've gotten across unchecked or unaccounted for. So it's probably more like 500,000 illegal aliens in the state of Pennsylvania right now. And how many of us just in this room know a school where they're struggling to give American citizens a good education because the schools are flooded with people who shouldn't even be here? And wouldn't it be nice to have a president who thinks that the first duty is to keep American citizens safe, not people who shouldn't be in this country to begin with? Now, that problem, just that immigration problem alone, has cost Pennsylvanians $2.6 billion. That's $300 for every man, woman, and child in this room and all across Pennsylvania. That is totally unacceptable. And you know, one of the things that I really wish, and y'all are so kind and generous. Often when I come to events like this, people ask me how I'm doing. And look, I'm doing great. This is the honor of a lifetime to be able to stand up here and ask you for your vote to be the next Vice President of the United States. But I really wish that I could take every single one of you and give you the perspective that I've gotten on this great country over just the last 7 weeks. Because this is a beautiful country, my friends, from the beautiful deserts of Arizona to the mountains of central Pennsylvania. This is a beautiful country. I believe it's the most beautiful country in the whole world. And it's not just that beauty that you see that's surface deep. We have got underneath the ground here in Pennsylvania natural resources that Russia and China would literally kill for. We've got the best workers and the best people. We've got the best historical tradition and cultural traditions anywhere in the world. We can fix this country's problems, my friends. We just got to get better leadership. So I want us to tell Kamala Harris and every single one of the corrupt Washington Democrats who have failed to do their job and protect this state and all 50 states. On November 5th, the American people, the people of Pennsylvania, are going to send a message. You're fired, and Donald Trump is coming back to the White House. So of course, I talked to the president quite a bit, and I get a call from the president. Not unusual because we call each other a lot on Sunday. And I was. Is that him? It probably is. So I'm sitting with my 7-year-old boy. We're sitting at home, and the president calls me and he says, "JD, they tried to do it again." And I said, "They tried to do what, sir?" And he said, "They tried to shoot me again." And I said, my first reaction, of course, was, "Well, sir, are you okay?" Right? That's what you do. I said, "Sir, are you doing okay?" And of course he said, "Yeah, I'm doing fine." And then he said, we got apparently a heckler there in the back, but
Something's got a hold on me, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
we'll get him out of here. Our friend, it's all right. Hey, look, our friend back there wants to pay even higher grocery prices. That's why he's supporting Kamala Harris. But I talked to the president, and the president says, and remember, this is like 5 minutes. This is well before the news became public. The president, this just happened 5 minutes ago, and he says, I'm doing fine, but I'm kind of pissed off because I was about to make a birdie putt on the 6th hole, and they wouldn't let me finish. And I chuckled a little bit. Of course, I'm sitting in Ohio, not in Florida, and I'm more bothered by this than he is. But then it hit me, 2 things. Number one, isn't that the kind of man we want to be the president of the United States? A guy who takes a bullet and stands up and raises his fist in the air in defiance. A guy who, again, is nearly assassinated and is more worried about not making a birdie putt. Because that shows you who he is under fire, under literal fire. And as much as the media loves to lie about Donald Trump, and as much as Kamala Harris's entire campaign is about lying about Donald Trump, what we want in the Oval Office is a person who is calm and cool under pressure. And that describes Donald Trump to a T, a guy who can take a bullet and still keep his wits about him. You know who we don't want in the Oval Office? A person who is so afraid of the friendly American media that she won't even give a real interview. Because Kamala, if you're too afraid of the American media to give an interview, we cannot trust you to represent us on the world stage and in front of world leaders. Because we all know, the most important job of a president is not agreeing with you on any substantive policy issue. The most important job of a president is dealing with crisis. And I know who I trust to deal with a crisis. It's Donald J. Trump, the man who has stood calm under fire, not Kamala Harris, who's too afraid of the American media to give an interview. And then, of course, the media is trying to bury this story. literally 6 days ago, there was a near assassination on a former and future U.S. president, and the American press is more worried about salacious scandals in other states than they are about what's going on right here in Pennsylvania, or the fact that Donald Trump was nearly assassinated. Now, I think that's ridiculous and preposterous, but think about this. What is it that drives the left's hatred of this one person? And I think I figured it out, my friends. The answer is censorship. The reason they keep going after him is because they want to silence him, and they want to silence him permanently. And by the way, they want to silence every single person in this room. That's why, by the way, big tech conspired to silence Americans over all the COVID craziness. That's why big tech still to this day tries to interfere in our elections. And that's why at this very moment, the Democrats are busy calling anybody who disagrees with Kamala Harris's open border a racist. They're all about silencing their fellow citizens. Now, here's what I think about this. And here's why I think we got to talk about this immigration and border issue every single day. Because I've seen in the small town of Springfield, Ohio, or here in Pennsylvania, there have been cities, small towns that have been overwhelmed with migrants who are brought in by Kamala Harris. And we know exactly the story. We know that it leads to a stress on local services. We know people can't get into hospital or to the doctor's office. We know that schools don't educate children as well. And we know that it means higher housing and higher grocery prices. That's what Kamala Harris's open border does to small towns and big cities all over our country. But here's what really bothers me about it. It's not just that they've made people's lives worse with this terrible open border. It's that they're going to call you bad names if you dare complain about it. And so our message to Kamala Harris and the Democrats is we're going to keep on complaining about your policies because this is America and we have the right to speak our mind. And our message, our Simplify, sir, our message to Kamala Harris is very simple. We are not bad people for thinking that you should not flood millions of illegal aliens into this country. We are not bad people for thinking that the drug cartels shouldn't be allowed to bring fentanyl into our country. You are not a bad person for having the courage to defy Kamala Harris and say no more of this garbage. Kamala Harris is a bad person for letting this happen to our country in the first place. Now, we're going to take a few questions from the media, but before we do, I want to just leave you. That's okay. You don't have to boo them. Some of them are very fine people. But I want to leave you with one final thought because I think it ties together how broken Kamala Harris's policies are. It ties together resources, they would kill for the resources that we have just in the state of Pennsylvania. Now, Kamala Harris has pursued an energy policy where she'd rather buy oil and gas from tin pot dictators all over the world. I say we buy it from Pennsylvania workers right here in our own territory. Means that we cannot let her anywhere near the Oval Office. Talk about revenue in a second, but the tax issue really does illustrate the difference between Kamala Harris's policies and Donald Trump's policies. Kamala Harris is going around every single day promising that working Americans are going to get a tax increase and also promising that she's going to reward corporations that ship American jobs overseas. That is the sum total of her tax policy. You know what Donald Trump's tax policy is? He wants to give hardworking Americans a tax cut, and he wants to penalize corporations that are shipping our jobs overseas. Let's build and make things right here in America and reward the companies that do that. Now, when you do that, when you reward we believe that we need to preserve and protect Social Security and Medicare. Could you start at the beginning and then repeat the question a little louder?
Last week, you talked about creating stories so media pays attention to people's suffering. But those stories aren't necessarily verified by fact. Are you saying those things because they're real just trying to gin up the base? Or are you, and I guess my question is, are you guys still really trying to
What? It's the substance. She's just running on dishonesty because she doesn't have a record. She can defend herself. What I said is that we create media stories. In other words, we focus the people's apartments and from their homes to make way for policy. So very, very good. That's a very important question, actually. Here's how much weight I put in those polls, and I want to be as precise as I possibly can. 0. That is how much weight I put in those polls. And look, we have, I believe, in our campaign, the very best pollsters working for us, and trust me, we feel extremely good about Pennsylvania and the whole country. Now, just let me give you a very precise example. I remember the fake media polls in my Ohio Senate race that told us that we were going to lose, and this wasn't in September, this was October. Polling doesn't matter. Your voice matters. And we got to get out there and make sure. I don't care how you fall in this election.
If you've been getting scam texts like these, it was me. I said that probably means your data's been leaked. And I have all of it.
Trading industry, of course, is the backbone of Pennsylvania's economy. Is that right?
I think that's right.
So the True administration recently invested more than $10 million in an innovation grant program to help Pennsylvania farmers. What would you do to help Pennsylvania farmers?
Well, the first thing that I would do to help Pennsylvania farmers is to cut out the anti-energy policies that make it impossible to operate a farm in the state of Pennsylvania. When I talk to Pennsylvania farmers, what they always tell me is one of the most important, maybe the most significant costs in their business and their farm is energy, because you can't run a farm without diesel fuel. And a lot of us may not know this, but some of the most important fertilizers that our farmers use actually come from natural gas, good Pennsylvania natural gas. So if you have a president like Kamala Harris, who is actually making energy more expensive, she is waging war on Pennsylvania farmers, and that is in fact what she's doing every single day. That's why we got to get her out of there and replace her with Donald J. Trump, who loves our farmers and loves our energy workers. But look, I also think that we absolutely have to invest in Pennsylvania farmers and invest in innovation in our farms. We've got the most innovative farming sector anywhere in the world, but it's not going to stay that way and say about Troy, the family farm, good for everybody else. Well, first of all, I'd love to have a second debate. We've actually offered Tim Walz a second debate, and they've totally rejected it. But look, I actually think that you should have to earn this job. Like, think about this. I'm asking all of you and everybody watching on TV, the whole country, to do something that really should put a person in awe. I'm asking you to make me the vice president of the United States. And to do that, record, we're not going to give that person a promotion. We're going to get her out. Well, look, first of all, Mike DeWine has endorsed the Trump-Vance ticket, and we are a big tent party, and we're going to have people who have disagreements, and that's okay. You know what the difference is between Kamala Harris's Democrats and Donald Trump's Republican Party is we're okay with disagreement. We're okay with it so long as you've got common sense. We're the party of common sense. Kamala Harris, if you don't support her policies that want to destroy the Pennsylvania energy sector, or if you don't support her policies that want to open the border, she'll try to censor you. She'll try to shut you up. That's not what Donald Trump and I are doing. So let's have the conversation. We're big enough for it. Look, think about this. Think about our party. And I'm sure there's a diversity of opinions even just in this room. Now here, when the media says that people are here legally, here's what they mean. That Kamala Harris has granted mass amnesty to millions of illegal aliens. Now, I happen to think that what Kamala Harris has done is not just wrong, it is illegal. So when Kamala Harris uses an illegal action to give Now, my friends, I want to leave you with one final thought. And one of my favorite Senate colleagues, he will, I've only been in politics for 2 years, but I've seen him give a speech where he says, I want you, meaning everybody in the audience, to get out there and vote 10 times. And people get a little uncomfortable. They say, well, we're Republicans. We only vote once. Here's how you can legally vote 10 times. You take yourself to the polls and you make sure 9 other people go right along with you. And that. So I want everybody right now, get out your phones right now, take out your phones and take a photo of me sitting up here and go on social media and post a photo, whether you use Facebook or Instagram or X or Twitter, whatever you use. Get out there and post it. And here's what I want you to do. I want you to post the photo and I want you to talk about why. Tell people why you're voting for Donald Trump. That's number one. And number two, I want you to find at least 9 of your friends, make sure they make a plan to vote, make sure you find a way to help them get to the polls and do it however makes the most sense for you. Because we've got early voting, we've got mail-in balloting, and of course we've got election day voting. But here's the thing, and we got to be honest about this because the Democrats have done better at this than us, is they get so many votes by mail and they get so many early votes that they start out with a massive advantage. And by the way, in Pennsylvania, we're doing a hell of a lot better in 2024 than we did in 2020. I'm telling you, the numbers look good. But we got to keep it up because look, every single person that I know has a story where they plan to go vote on election day, and maybe it's a big presidential election, maybe it's a city council election, whatever.
As far as the eye can see, I hope you can see back there. It's a long way back. I want to thank everybody and hello to North Carolina. And I'm thrilled to be back in this incredible state with thousands of hardworking, God-fearing American patriots. Amazing, amazing people. We have a little thing called an election coming up, and we're going to win this election. You know, I don't know if you've seen the polls, but they're very good. We'll be going over that in just a minute, but we're doing really well, and I appreciate it. And we've won this state every election. The primaries we've won the general elections. And we got one more left before we make America great again. Have to do it again. We have to do it again, because they really loused things up in 4 years, didn't they? Didn't they just what they've done? Exactly 45 days from now, we're going to win North Carolina. We're going to defeat Kamala Harris, and we're going to make America great again. We're going to make it great again. When you cast your ballot for Trump this November. Thank you very much. That's the best seat in the house. I always say. You know, they can't see me too well, but oftentimes they're picked to be movie stars. They're so beautiful. All of the fake news up there. You know, you think you have the best seat. So you think you have the best seat. Actually, they do. Because what happens is Hollywood is watching, and every once in a while they see a face. They see this beautiful face, and they don't see your face. They only see the back of your head. Would anybody like to change seats? Would you rather change? I didn't think so. I didn't think so. When you cast your ballot for Trump this November, it means that America's borders will be instantly secured. Can you believe what they've done? What they have done to our country with millions and millions of people walking right through our border. It means the price of household goods will start to plummet. Groceries and rent will no longer break your budgets. And you will have thousands of dollars of savings by the end of the year. Let me just tell you, we're going to get your energy costs down in 1 year. We're going to get your energy costs down by 50%. We'll cut it in half. We're going to cut it in half. It means young people will once again be able to afford a mortgage and a home. Thank you very much. Uncle Sam. Look, Uncle Sam is here. I love Uncle Sam. I love Uncle Sam. Look at him. It means the streets of your cities will be safe and clean. The homeless encampments will be gone. They're going to be gone. Oh, you have to see. You have to see some of these encampments, what they've done to our cities. So we've got to take care of the people, but they're destroying our cities. And instead of a planet on the edge of global war, we will have world peace. We won't have World War III, which we're very close to having right now. That's the future that awaits the America that we love under President Donald J. Trump. But if you cast your vote for Kamala Harris, comrade, we call her comrade, you're voting for 4 more years of brutal job losses, higher taxes, surging prices, falling wages, and economic depression and despair. Other than that, you'll be doing quite well, I think, actually. A vote for Kamala Harris means 40 or 50 million more illegal aliens will invade across our borders, stealing your money, stealing your job, stealing your life.
Popeye's Wings are the official wing of watching football. Win the wing game every week.
It means your police forces will be gutted, your guns will be confiscated, and savage criminals will run wild in the streets. So that's what it means. You know what? That's what it means. You know, she's always said, we will confiscate all guns. Now she's saying, oh, no guns. I think they're wonderful, right? Doesn't work that way. They're going to confiscate your guns. I'm the one that's protecting it. We get the total endorsement of every gun group, including the NRA. And we have protected your Second Amendment. And if you think it was easy, it was not easy. If Kamala Harris is reelected, she will kill the American dream forever. She's not competent to be president either, but I don't want to be rude. I don't want to be rude. She's not competent to be president. Did you see her on Oprah? That's not going to be president. Oprah didn't know what the hell to do. Oprah was like embarrassed. She wanted to hide under the table, but she's a professional and she was able to sort of disguise it. No, she wanted to go right under the table. Vote Trump and we will bring back the American dream bigger, better, and stronger than ever before. Kamala can't be trusted with your economy or anything else. She's just, how this happened. Explain it to me, please. How did this happen? And we all saw what happened and we see what happened. Kamala was a total disaster yesterday and at every other interview. She's been just a free fall. I don't know what the hell's going on. She can't do an interview. She doesn't want to do them. Something's wrong. Let's just take a look. Let me just see. We have a little video. You know, we spend all the money on these screens. We want to use them a little bit. Let's play it just for a second. Thank you.
The Kamala word of the day is clearly story.
It is your story and the story of our friends before you is really, that's the American story, right? And telling your story and being so strong in the way you do it. And both of these stories, for you to tell these stories, this story is a story that is sadly not the only story.
It's unbelievable. It's simply unbelievable. It's like a child who learns one word and then they struggle for the next thought and it never comes. But maybe this daytime talk candidacy will work. It's all emotion, but not a very good one. Certainly not an articulate one, Laura.
Being a bitch. Turn that off.
That's not what you want. That's not what you want. Kamala and her group have seen what's happening to their campaign, and it's not going well for them. And they would like, just announced a little while ago as I was coming off the plane, they would like to do another debate. Although, good entertainment value. A lot of people say, oh, do it, it's great entertainment. I've already done 2. One with Crooked Joe Biden at CNN, and the other one with Kamala on ABC. CNN was very fair, I thought. Joe was driven out of the race. It was a coup, by the way, but he was driven out of the race. And they've been widely criticized by the radical left lunatics for all of the fairness. They were very fair. In other words, they won't be fair again because they took a lot of abuse from the radical left. ABC was 3-on-1, but I was given credit for having done a very, very good job. I appreciate that. We did a great job. It was 3-on-1. The problem with another debate is that it's just too late. Voting has already started. She's had her chance to do it with Fox. You know, Fox invited us on, and I waited, and they turned it down. But now she wants to do a debate right before the election with CNN because She's losing badly. You know, it's like a fighter. She sees the pulse. She sees what's happening. She's losing badly, but it's like a fighter who goes into the ring and gets knocked out. The first thing he says is, I want a rematch. I want a rematch. And I won all of the primaries. Remember, she won none. She went into no primaries. She got no votes. Biden, in all fairness, I'm no fan, but in all fairness to him, he got 14 million votes. She got none. She's done one debate. I've done two. It's too late to do another. I'd love to in many ways, but it's too late. The voting is cast. The voters are out there immediately. Is everybody voting? Please get out and vote. I would rather see one-day voting, paper ballots, voter ID, and proof of citizenship, and we have a nice, honest election. We have one state you go forever. I mean, it's like for 2.5 months, and then they have the right to delay the count for weeks and weeks. The whole thing is crazy. We're going to get it changed. We got to get in. When we get in, we're going to get this craziness changed. Everyone knows that Kamala Harris cannot explain how she would make your life better because it's really her policies that have destroyed this country in the last 3 years. She was the border czar. Now she says she wasn't the border czar. It doesn't matter. She was in charge of the border, put there by sleepy Joe Biden. He wanted to go to the beach. She said, I don't have time. I got to go to the beach and sleep. Who the hell sleeps on camera? You have cameras watching. I don't want to ever fall asleep on live television. Kamala Harris cost your family $28,000 in higher prices. Last month alone, she lost, think of this. Last month, they lost, in this country, 438,000 full-time jobs. That's a government number, including 24,000 manufacturing jobs. That's last month. And the interest rates are lowered for political reasons, but they're also lowered because the country is not doing well. We would rather have you as president. Think of this. If you would rather have me as president, or, okay, let's do this. Let's do a poll. You ready? Who wants Trump as president? I'm shocked. Is there anyone brave enough to raise your hand? Who wants Kamala as president? I'm looking for one brave soul. That would be very brave. Who would you rather have as your president? Radical liberal Kamala Harris, who created the worst economy in your life? That's the worst economy that we've ever had under them. Or the businessman who created the greatest economy in the history of our country and in the history of the world, who created the greatest. Kamala Harris is promising war on American energy. Oh, she's after energy. Oh, she's after it. You know what they did? She came in, they closed up all of the energy. The prices started going crazy. So Biden started screaming, get back to what Trump was doing. But as soon, if they won this election, the day after they win, your energy prices are going to double and triple. You know that. The largest tax hikes on families in American history is what they say, the largest small business tax hikes in American history, and the most crippling regulations in American history. All of this is shutting down power plants and banning gasoline-powered cars and trucks. Would anybody like to drive, on occasion, a beautiful gasoline-driven car? We want a gasoline-powered. Now, they do have a new one, hydrogen. The problem is it tends to blow up every once in a while, and you go many, many blocks in the air. You say, what happened with? So that's a little bit early. But we want new technology. We want hybrids. We want a lot of things. Under the Trump economic plan, we will cut your energy prices in half within, mark it down, and you can get very angry at me if we don't do it. Within 12 months, your energy prices will be cut in half. We have more liquid gold under our feet than anybody else. And we will rapidly defeat inflation. So inflation is a misnomer because the inflation is now getting stabilized because our country is doing badly. But the prices have been driven up here and people can't afford the groceries. I told the story the other day, a woman, sort of elderly woman who was sad, goes up to the counter, register, puts 3 apples on, and then realizes she can't afford it. And she took 1 apple, brought it back into the refrigeration, came back, and she took 2 apples. That shouldn't be happening in this country. That shouldn't be happening. And by slashing inflation, we will cut interest rates and reduce the monthly cost of your typical mortgage by $1,000. $1,000 a month. Listen, so interest rates with me were 2%. Interest rates with her and Joe, I got to add him. I don't know. Is he still the president? I'm trying to figure it out. You know, I hate to waste the time by saying and him, because I don't know.
Building your online business? Go to Wix.com and set up your store on a single integrated platform. Add products, showcase them dynamically, and seamlessly track your inventory. Accept multiple secure payments, and design your storefront down to the very last detail. Get all the tools you need. Drive more sales with customizable gift cards and flexible product subscriptions. Retain customers with a point-based loyalty program, email automations, and reach millions with sales channel integrations. Complete your setup with a personalized analytics dashboard. Make smart business decisions and shape the next phase of your business. Build, manage, and grow from one place. Go to Wix and launch your online business today.
Is he the president? Because yesterday his wife took over the cabinet meeting, right? Said, I'm going to ask my wife to take it. He hasn't had a cabinet meeting like in 2 years. And yesterday they finally had it. And he said, I'm going to let Jill handle it. We will manage. A lot of things are happening there. A lot of bad things are happening. We will massively cut taxes for workers. We will have no tax on tips. We will have no tax on overtime. And no tax on Social Security benefits for our great seniors. No tax. And it makes sense because the seniors have been hurt so badly with inflation. So we're going to have no tax on Social Security for our seniors. And while working Americans catch up, we're going to put a temporary cap on interest rates on credit card debt at 10%. Some people are paying 25 and 30%. It's crazy. You know, in theory, that's against the law. Okay, called the usury laws. But in theory, that's against. So we're going to cap it for a period of time at 10%. This election is about the economy. This election is about the border. That's what it is. And I am your border president. Your border president. Kamala would be your invasion president. She would be your country-destroying president. But remember this, look on the border. In 2016, we had a bad border. I fixed it. And it was so good that I couldn't mention it in 2020, even though, excuse me, I might say, we got millions more votes in 2020 than we did in 2016, right? Some bad crap happened. Some bad things happened. We got millions and millions of more votes. So what a disgrace. Think of our country if I were president. You wouldn't have Ukraine, Russia. That wouldn't happen. You wouldn't have any inflation. You wouldn't have had the attack on Israel. And you wouldn't have had the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. And that's the way they withdrew from Afghanistan. None of this would have happened. And a lot of other good things. We would be energy independent. We were already energy independent. We were going to be energy dominant by now. More than Russia, more than anything. We have more than Russia. We have more than Saudi Arabia, more oil. We have more than anybody. I call it liquid gold. We have more liquid gold under our feet. And what do? We go to Venezuela to get oil, to get tar. They sell us tar that we refine in our country. In Houston, Texas, not a pretty sight. As borders are, Kamala Harris has allowed 21 million illegals to pour in from all over the world. They're coming from the prisons and the jails. They're coming from mental institutions and insane asylums. They're terrorists, and she's letting, literally at record levels, terrorists are pouring into our country. Did you see the chart? 4 years ago, we had 11 terrorists come in, and we got them, everyone. Now we have thousands of terrorists in our country, and the worst terrorists from the worst countries. Here in North Carolina, migrant crime is totally out of control, encouraged by sanctuary jurisdictions, sanctuary cities all across your state. In July, an illegal alien who Border Czar Harris released him, special order, into our country, was arrested for stalking a woman into a public bathroom in Charlotte and attempting to rape her and ultimately rape her and hurt her very badly. Here in Wilmington last month, an illegal alien from Venezuela brutally stabbed a man to death. This murder came just 4 days after he was arrested for horrible domestic violence. But instead of being deported, this criminal alien was released to kill again. Kill again he did. And in June, a fugitive illegal alien criminal from Honduras was arrested after savagely murdering a 23-year-old in the sanctuary jurisdiction of Mecklenburg. Anybody come from Mecklenburg County? You read about it. That was a big one. That was a bad one. Nasty, nasty. Today, I'm announcing a new plan to end all sanctuary cities in North Carolina and all across our country. No more sanctuary cities. Uncle Sam, you agree? Uncle Sam agrees. I had a feeling you would, right? You're great. As soon as I take office, we will immediately surge federal law enforcement to every city that is failing, which is a lot of them, to turn over criminal aliens, and we will hunt down, capture every single gang member, drug dealer, rapist, murderer, and migrant criminal that is being illegally harbored. Every one of the top 25 worst cities are Democrat-run cities. We will get them out of North Carolina, and we will send them home where they belong. I will ask Congress to pass a law outlawing sanctuary cities nationwide, and we will bring down the full weight of the federal government on any jurisdiction that refuses to cooperate with ICE and these are great patriots, ICE and Border Patrol and our great Border Patrol. They're not allowed to do their job. They want to do their job. They're not allowed. Within 2 years, there will not be one single foreign criminal gang operated in North Carolina or anywhere else. You have a lot of gangs. Hate to say it, you have a lot of gangs in this state. Are there any gang members in the audience, please? Would you please raise your hand? So that's the choice. Kamala Harris will fly criminal migrants into every one of your cities and towns. Did you see that? They said, well, we've decided to get tough on crime. You know, like 2 weeks ago, because they want to try and get some votes because they're not doing so good. This issue is not a good one for them. But did you see? And then we learned that they're flying them in beautiful, big, fat, beautiful Boeing aircraft, just like that one, with more seats, actually. I have fewer seats in mine than they do. But they fly them in with beautiful aircraft. They fly them all over the country by the hundreds of thousands. They're flying in over the border. So they don't want to stop them because they're continuing the flights into our country. I will get every migrant criminal out of our country, and I'll get them out fast. We have to. We have no choice. And they're taking over our country. You see what they're doing. Kamala Harris's border invasion is also crushing the jobs and wages of African-American workers and Hispanic-American workers, and also union members. Unions are next. You watch. They are working and hurting. What's going on with African-American workers and with Hispanic in particular, they're taking your jobs. They're taking your jobs. Every job produced in this country over the last 2 years has gone to illegal aliens. Every job. Think of it. What we're doing to this country is so sad. You know, I stand up here. Thank you. Thank you. You're right about that. We'll save you. We're going to save you. We're going to save you. We're going to save you. No, we're going to save you. But it is sad. Young guy, I don't know where the hell he is. A lot of people out here. But when he screams, you've got to save us, President Trump, that we need to scream like that. That you would think in this country that you even need something like that. It's very sad. But we're going to save you. We will. We did it once. We're going to do it again. And we're going to do it at an even higher level. An even higher level. That's one of the big reasons why I just won the overwhelming endorsement of the rank and file membership of the Teamsters. They voted for Trump. They voted for Trump. Last month, American board workers lost, think of this, 1.3 million jobs. So American voters, and their voters, American workers lost 1.3 million jobs. Meanwhile, the migrants picked up 635,000 jobs, plus another 700,000 or 800,000 jobs, at least, that we know of. But the Americans lost jobs. What a disgrace. I don't even, you read some of this and you hear the facts. You find it hard to believe it could be happening, actually, because, the Republican Party has become a party of common sense. I call it the party of common sense. We're conservative. We're all of the same, but it's become a party. Where is the common sense? In open borders and high taxes and the job numbers that I just read to you. Even Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell said this week, quote, the influx across the borders has been one of the things that has allowed unemployment to rise and rise substantially. To save your jobs, you must vote for Trump. Very simple. Very simple. So in the latest Rasmussen poll just out, thank you. Remember, I used to talk about the polls, right? I used to talk about the polls, and I forgot about it because I won the primaries by so much, I didn't have to talk about them. But in the latest Rasmussen poll, you know what happened with Joe? We beat him by, I think, 21 points, and they said, you got to get out, you can't win, and he got out. So now I got a second race. This never happened. I went, think of it, spent $100 million on beating Joe, and we beat him, and he couldn't win, and they went to him, and they said, you can't win, you're out. You're not supposed to say that to a president, but they said, Joe, you're out. Get out of here, Joe. And they took it over. He got 14 million votes, and she got none. And then they never thought she was going to get it, but it turned out that she got it because they wanted to be politically correct. She didn't get one vote. She didn't win one primary. She was the first one to quit the race when they had 22 candidates, where Biden won it. But in the latest Rasmussen poll against her, just came out, we're 8 points up. In the New York Times, Sienna Paul, can you believe New York Times? They can't be happy. We're 9 points up in the Midwest alone. In the Emerson poll, highly respected, we're 3 up in Georgia and leading Arizona by a lot, Wisconsin by a lot. And I think we're really doing well in Pennsylvania. That's what the word is. But remember, don't get too carried away. They cheat. That's what they do. They cheat. Too big to rig. We got to get out there. Everybody's got to vote. And in the American Greatness poll, we're beating Kamala by 3 here in a place called North Carolina. And one that's very exciting, a poll just came out where we're actually leading in the state of Virginia, which no Republican has won in a long time. But take nothing for granted. You have to get out and vote. You just have to get out and vote. We cannot accept it. What they do is, it's the only thing they do well. They cheat. Their policies are no good. Their government is no good. Their management is no good, but they cheat like nobody can cheat. We're pleased to be joined today by a senator that I'm very proud of, actually. He ran and won and beat somebody who was tough. And I recommended before that Laura run for that office, but Laura said, I have a beautiful family, a husband, and 2 of the most beautiful kids. You're going to meet one of them in a minute. Because we happen to name her Carolina. So she said, Dad, and we have a great gentleman named Ted Budd, a congressman, and he's fantastic. And so I said, Ted, you want to do it? I'm going to give you my endorsement. And I gave him the endorsement, and he has been a great senator. Ted Budd. Ted. Hi, Ted. He's done a fantastic job. Also, I was early with him, too. Dan Bishop, who is fantastic. Dan, you're looking good. You're looking good. Thank you, Dan. He's great. He's a warrior. David Rouser. David. We love David. And Anna Paulina Luna. I want to say it perfectly. Anna. She's so popular in Florida. I don't know. What's your next move? Stay, just relax. But what's your next move? She's so popular, and she's a warrior. They're all warriors, that whole group. North Carolina Republican Party chairman. He's been incredible. Jason Simmons. You know Jason? Thank you, Jason. How are we doing? Are we okay? Okay, we got to be okay. We got to win. This is a very important state. We win this state, I think it's going to be over fast. And we've only won it. We've won it every time. So we're 5-0, including primaries. RNC chairman. So he was so good. And you know what he was good on? Stopping the cheating. Because when other places were winning, we're going to win 10 o'clock in the evening. Then at 3:02, a lot of ballots came in, but they didn't come in here. He had 603 lawyers, and he was tough as hell. And I said, that's the guy I want to run the RNC with Laura. They're doing an unbelievable job. And by the way, Laura's here. Would you stand up? Laura and Eric. I call it a super couple. That's a super couple. Thank you, Brad. You're doing a great job, Laura. And he's doing a great job. He's the most subpoenaed human being in the history of the United States. Every day he gets a subpoena from Congress, from a crooked DA, a crooked AG. Democrat areas only, but man, he's tough as hell. He was such a nice young man just a little while ago. Now he's become like a hardened, tough. I said, is that my beautiful Eric? But it is, and he's still beautiful, and he's smart, and he is tough, and he's handled it so well. Eric, stand up separately, come on. He is the most subpoenaed man in the history of our country. He got more subpoenas than the late, great Al Capone. Al Capone is like a baby compared to Eric. Thanks, Eric, good, great job, honey. Great job. And Robeson County Commissioner, Michael, where's Michael Watley, by the way? Where are you? Where are you? Stand up. We're counting on this guy. I didn't take him from any other state. I took him right from here. He was your party chairman. And it's true, though. You see about 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, and then 3:02, you see these states that were easy wins. They sort of fell off because of COVID and lots of problems. There were lots of problems. But bottom line, they cheated, and they fell off. But you know a place that didn't fall off? North Carolina, and it was headed up by that man. So, Michael, you better win, or you're never going to be able to come back here. If he doesn't win, he won't be at RNC, and he will no longer be in North Carolina. He'll be looking for a job. I think he's going to win, and that's what he's focused. I said, we don't need votes. What we need is honesty in the election. If we have honesty, we have all the votes we need. And by the way, before I forget, I don't want to forget, you have about 30 of the most incredible women that follow me all over the place, and they're from North Carolina. Unbelievable. They follow me all over the country. They're from North Carolina. Isn't it nice? Isn't it nice to finally be here? You don't have to travel to California, Texas. They travel all over the place. They're great. They're great, and we love them, and they're beautiful. I don't get the husband. They're all happily married, right? I don't quite get it. And here's another one. Look at that. They didn't want to sit with you. They wanted a better location. That's the boss. Thank you very much. It's a great honor. And we also have front row Joes. They're all over the place. They stand online for 2-3 days because they want to get that front row. Thank you very much. And they've seen plenty, and they were there, unfortunately, in Butler. That was a hell of a day. Sitting right where we're sitting right now, that was a hell of a day. That was something. Never let that happen. And also, Robeson County Commissioner and member of the Lumbee tribe, a friend of mine and a friend of ours, John Cummings. Where's John? Thank you, John. John is a real supporter. We appreciate it very much. And we're going to make sure that you guys are okay because they have not been treated properly by this administration, as we know. Thank you. You can tell everybody. The Lumbee tribe has been wrongfully denied federal recognition for more than a century. Only a century? That's not that long. Centuries? 100 years? That's not that long. But no, we're going to take care of it. We'll take care of it right at the beginning. All right? You can tell them. Biden and Obama promised remedy that they want to remedy the injustice, but they never did it. They broke their promise. And today I'm officially announcing that if I am elected in November, I will sign legislation granting the great Lumbee tribe the federal recognition that it deserves. Okay? You'll be all set. Say hello to, and I got to know them. They're great, but unfortunately we weren't in office when that happened, but they treated them very badly. Thank you very much, John. We also have, and I alluded to it, a very important member of my family, far more important than Eric or Laura. And her name is Carolina. And she's beautiful and she's sweet and she doesn't know how evil life is. She hasn't experienced it yet, but she does know how great life is. And we want to make life great for everybody here. And we're going to do that. Can I ask Carolina to come up? Is that possible? Carolina. She sat on my lap during the Republican convention.
Oh my God.
Make American great again.
Oh, that was great, honey. Thank you. What a good job. I can see the new senator when Ted someday, he's going to say, sir, I've had it. I can't do it any longer. He's going to resign or leave, and we're going to have Carolina get in there and run. Anyway, would anybody like to meet Luke, her brother? Luke, come on up.
Vote for Grandpa.
Oh. Thank you, sweetheart. Thank you. Good job. So cute. Oh, he doesn't want to get off the stage. Oh, wow. Look at that. He's got the gene. Thank you. Thank you, Luke. You know, I said, say MAGA. I whispered into his ear. So cute. I said, say MAGA. He said, vote for Grandpa. He didn't care what I said. And that was actually much better, right? That was much. Thanks, Luke. Thanks, Carolina. Thank you, honey. What great kids. Great people. That's a whole family is a wonderful family. Thank you. Thank you very much. And they're really helping. And Laura's all over the state. As you know, Laura grew up here and she loves the state. And she spends more time here than any place else. And she really loves the state. And so do we. It's been a very special experience. Thank you. Thank you, Laura, for the help, too. Appreciate it. We are 7 weeks away from the most important election in the history of our country. And Kamala Harris is the most radical left nominee ever to seek the presidency by far. The problem with her is nobody knew who the hell she was. when you say, oh, Harris is running, nobody knows the last name. I could say it today. If I just told Harris is running, you'd say, who the hell is Harris, right? Look at the people up front. They're friends of mine. They're tough, smart, rich people, actually, very good. They've made a lot of money in this state. But when I say Harris, they say, who the hell is Harris? They know Kamala, but they don't know Harris. They know Comrade. They also know Comrade. And that's what she is. She's a comrade. But Harris is running, and she wants to open your borders. I'll tell you what, 21 million people, and that's really not including gotaways, came into this country. And they came in from a lot of bad places. Do you know that crime all over the world is down? In Venezuela, it's down 72% because they've taken their criminals and they've dumped them into the United States. It's down 70, and nothing good is going to happen with that. But all over the world, not just South America, crime is way down, way down. And what a shame that is, right? What a shame that is. And you see how bad it's getting when you look at what's going on with the migrants attacking villages and cities all throughout the Midwest in particular right now, but it's all over. But she's going to deliver rampant inflation, and she wants to pack the Supreme Court, our great Supreme Court. Instead of 9 justices, Kamala wants to bring it up. The other day, for the first time, I heard a number. It's got to be an odd number. They didn't like the number 13. So instead of going to 15, they went to 25. I understand they went 25. So they want to pack our courts immediately, and we can't ever let them do that. And we're going to stop them, and we have to stop them at the presidency. Ideally, we're going to do well, Ted, with the Senate, but we have to stop them with the presidency. We have to stop them. Ideally, you have some great congressmen and congresspeople running. We have to stop them there. So 25 justices is what she's looking for. That's the real number, so she can rig the system. She was an original creator of defund the police movement, just so you know. She's been there for 15 years. If you're there for 1 week, you cannot vote for her for president, okay? Anybody that once even had a thought of defunding our great police law enforcement can no longer serve or even be thought of to be president. And I met a lot of the officers backstage. They're incredible, the job they do, and we appreciate it. She wants to defund the police. She wanted to do it in Minneapolis. That's why she picked this character, this weird guy. You know, I said weird. JD and I are not weird. We got a lot of problems, but we're not weird. He is a weird dude, isn't he, though? So she got to meet him. He's a radical left lunatic. During the burning of Minnesota, they burned the whole state. Minneapolis was like a fire pit. And I saw a CNN announcer saying, well, this has been a friendly gathering. And behind him, the entire city was burning down. Nobody's ever seen it. It looked like World War II. No, we're not going to do it. And we're going to stop World War III, by the way. We're going to stop it. We're going to stop it cold. Kamala Harris vowed to abolish ICE under border czar Harris. Venezuelan gangs have taken over entire apartment buildings in Aurora, Colorado. The governor is petrified in Colorado. He's a liberal governor. He doesn't know what to do. The guy is so scared of these guys, and maybe you can't blame him. They have military-style weapons, AK-47 Supremes. They've got stuff that's unbelievable. They're young, they're tough, nasty people, and they got a lot of them. They came in from Venezuela in that case, in Aurora's case, and you have a great sheriff in town, but the sheriff is looking at this. He said, wow, that's a lot of firepower. They're in the real estate business. They're taking over buildings, okay? They're doing it the old-fashioned way. She supports free health care for illegal aliens while our hospitals and emergency rooms are being overrun by migrants. If you want to go to a hospital because you have an emergency and you pay taxes in North Carolina for 40 years, you won't be able to get in. And some places, you don't even have a chance of getting in. You know that. You don't even have a chance. She wants mass amnesty and citizenship for all illegals. And she says that she must, anybody that utters the word, think of this, the words, illegal alien, radical Islamic terrorist. She said, don't you ever use those terms. But here's the worst. Think of this. She lost 325,000 migrant children. They're gone. They're gone. Many are dead. Many are just kidnapped. Many are working in slavery. 325,000. That's filling up. Pick a nice stadium. Let's go to New York. Pick Yankee Stadium, right? It holds 55,000. Think of that. You could fill it up so many times. You could fill it up. It would never end. 325,000 young children are missing. Many are dead. And that's under their watch. It's the most cruel thing. And the press, the fake news right there, they won't talk about it. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to talk about any of the bad things. As California Attorney General, she redefined child sex trafficking, that's a term, assault with a deadly weapon, and rape of an unconscious person, and also other names that are too bad to name. I'm not going to name them. Because these young children are here, we don't want to name them. As nonviolent crimes. She said they're nonviolent crimes. Think of that. Rape of an unconscious woman. She vowed repeatedly to ban fracking. She imposed natural gas export. Think of that.
All right. I'm gonna shut it down. You got through everybody. Really, you did Trump, JD, Kamala, and Tim, and a little bit of some other stuff that's going on. Thought DC was going to jump on, but I guess not. So we pushing right along. 40-something days ago, getting closer and tighter. Kamala did agree to a CNN debate. Trump has declined it at this point, but he might change his mind. See what happens. So that would be exciting. He needs to do what he got to do. She has to keep pushing along as well. I still think he's going to probably win this. Anything could happen in 40 days. But some folks should, people, in my opinion, everybody should already have the decision at this point. I mean, I don't know what the holdup is now. You know, the policies have been laid out, talking points have been laid out. They visited all the states, make a decision. So, but voting, I think, did start yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, or today maybe. I forget which state. I know it's a couple of states, but anyway, as the days go by, more and more states will be doing early voting. So, anyway, so nothing really huge. I mean, the whole thing with the dogs and the cats and stuff and the Haitian stuff, I think that might be winding down since the lady came out and said, well, she found the cats. That might not be a big thing. He still might go there. I mean, that will keep him in the news cycle. If not, the Oprah thing is going to keep rolling. And they can keep exploiting those two girls that died and use that, and that'll keep them in the media cycle at least until next week. But we'll see. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and close it out. This is the Code Breakers. This is Paradox, and until next time, peace.